Well. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Yes, halfway through the week. Howdy, says Fedorevsky. How's it going, my friend? Happy Wednesday to you, specifically you. Yeah, what's going on? Oh, my cats are also here. Are they here? Hold on, let's see. We got half of my cat here as he's grooming. He just finished his meal. Doesn't mean he's not still hungry. This mother effer is always begging for food. Anyways, there's Kimbap being a good boy. And we got Nala already fast asleep. She just came up here not that long ago. So yeah, it's one of those days. We're all just kind of like in drowsy mood. Including myself. Just kidding. No, we're ready. We're hyped. We got a lot of stuff to get done with. I think I'll be finished with Mongolia photos on today's stream, which is great because I do need to speed it up. And then I can move on to Uganda. I got a lot of Uganda stuff to do. So anyways, thanks for joining me today, guys. In case you watch this at a later date, in case you are new to who I am as a creator, my name's Yobel. I go by YobelPrize. I do travel and wildlife photography and videography. And my focus over the past 2 years or so has been filmmaking, cinematography, video editing, travel documentaries, things like that. So that generally will be the focus of my streams, is how to pursue that, one day at a time, let's say. In terms of the itinerary or what's on the agenda today, like I said, I'll be editing a lot of photos from my travels, specifically from Mongolia first, and then maybe we'll hop into some video editing of Uganda. While we're doing that, I have been enjoying over the past, I think, couple weeks now, as I'm doing this kind of slow grinding work, I've been enjoying just watching casual YouTube videos that are, focused on filmmaking and behind the scenes, stuff like that. So nothing is changing today. We got plenty of these things lined up that we got to get through. So yeah, let me see if I can have it all lined up. Oh, and then before we do that, of course, I've been enjoying starting off each stream with just some casual games. I think at this point I can call myself a gamer, right? I mean, obviously it's not really true, but I'll call myself a gaming streamer. Why? Because we start each stream with just like a couple casual games of this audio, how good are your ears, basically. And then I play some games of chess. And that's kind of my way to rev up my creative juices, get my brain power up and running, and then we get into the photo edits. This is my concoction today. It's a mix of sparkling soda with mango juice and cranberry juice, and then I have a bunch of frozen blueberries. So every time I like to just drop a handful of the blueberries in there, just assuming that it'll add some extra flavors to it and it's healthy. I don't know. All right, anyways, that's enough of that. My cats again say hi. Man, how long does it take him to groom himself? I'm not judging, but yeah. All right, so let's just get on with it. So I got my sound game set up here. Let's pause that. Oh, and one last thing I completely forgot to say. I posted my latest YouTube video. I just released it like an hour ago, something like that. So it is pinned on all of the chats across YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. I hope you check it out. It's about 7 minutes. It is my latest in the Behind the Lens series. And the topic of this one is basically the concept of being like a serial quitter, right? I think I'm not alone when it comes to, you pick up hobbies thinking that this is something you're gonna, you have all these dreams, you have all these visions of who you'll be. And so you pick up the hobbies thinking it'll get you to that end state. And inevitably, at some point in that journey, something happens or multiple things happen, and then you drop it, right? The hobby dies, or what I was calling the graveyard of hobbies, right? Over time, we just collect more and more dead hobbies. For me, it came in some things to do with music, Now, some I would like to argue it's not dead, but I put it on a pretty long hiatus. But, you know, I remember one time I bought like one of those, I have a MIDI keyboard, I think that's what it's called, up on the bookshelf. And it's just collecting dust because I thought I was going to super get into like making music. I was so into it. I bought all these software so I can start like, you know, making my own beats. And then I just ran out of time. I had other hobbies that were conflicting, and that one just ended up getting put on the bookshelf. And so everyone's got those examples of hobbies you pick up, you spend money on it, you spend time on it, and then unfortunately it doesn't actually turn into anything sustainable. So that's what this video is about. It's just kind of breaking that concept down and then providing a little bit of my framework, how I think through these things, what I've done to actually hopefully break from that mentality to have a different mindset. And the framework is basically around, just to put it simply, I always view any new endeavor through the framework of passion, money, and time. And I hope you check out the video because that way you can see it a little bit more visually, but I just view it as like a triple Venn diagram or like 3 circles. And basically for any hobby to be sustainable, you're trying to reach that sweet spot where all 3 of those circles overlap: passion, money, time. It's a super, super simple framework in my opinion. However, I will say it's like one of those things where it's so simple and so obvious you don't think much of it, but once you do think about it and you apply a little bit of just like, again, this framework, it does make a big difference, at least to me. The moment I recognize that I'm missing one of those circles, if I'm missing time, if I have all the passion and money in the world, but I don't have the time, then I know that this pursuit will fail. If I have all the time in the world and I have all the money, but I'm not actually passionate about this thing, maybe I thought I was, maybe I had a genuine curiosity to pursue something. But if it wasn't a real passion, I didn't actually take the time to think that through, then that's a hobby that will die. Or maybe I have so much passion and I have all the time in the world, but I have no money. And unfortunately, I think a lot of us fall into that category. There's so many things we would love to do if only we had the resources to pursue it further. Unfortunately, that is also that's like a big sign that this hobby won't survive. So anyways, that's just kind of how I think about it. Do I think before I start a hobby, do I have all 3? Or do I see a world where all 3 will be there, or it will expand over time such that in the future, if I start now, it will still survive in, however long in the future. So there you go. That's on my YouTube channel now. I hope you enjoy it. Leave your thoughts. All of it does help my channel grow. So yeah. All right. With that plug aside, I mean, it is my stream, so I guess it's okay to plug myself, right? Let's warm up with some casual audio games. Now, I've been getting crushed in this game in the past few days, so let's see if I can turn the tide. Increasing the volume here. Let's go. Not the best, but not the worst. Let's go. Okay, I keep shooting under, so I gotta keep that in mind. Sorry, cats. Yo, this is the first time I've locked in a perfect score. I gotta screenshot that boy. We got it down to the second decimal. Hells yeah. Okay, we've achieved a milestone, but unfortunately my first 2 attempts weren't the best. I don't think I'm gonna hit like a record. Okay. Okay, how'd I do? I'm still in the middle category. Okay. All right, let me refresh this. Maybe it's not. All right, let's try again. Not bad. Okay. Oh my god. All right. We're doing well. We're doing well. Not bad. Hells yeah. What the heck? Oh, okay. Something's broken. Something's broken because I'm definitely... Yeah, because this number hasn't changed in a while. It keeps doing the same thing. Like 829,000 blah, blah, blah. That is some bullshit because I got a couple 10 out of 10s there. 9.99. Come on. All right. Well, I know I crushed it. All right. Even if the score, the ranking doesn't show it, that's not my fault. They gotta fix their shit. Okay. All right. So, anyways, let's do a couple games of chess now. All right. So I just need to get 2 dubs, 2 out of 3 dubs, and then we can move on. I can start doing a bit of photo editing. Let's do this. Damn, this guy's going fast. It's okay, 2 can play at that game. Well, that's annoying. What to do? All right, I'm in a very awkward position with my king here. My king is quite in a tricky spot. What happens if he takes? I take. Okay, so I think I need to retreat my king out of the line of sight there. But then I lose a pawn. Okay, but I can gain a pawn here. Okay. What to do? Let's start chipping away. So now I got his bishop threatened here. That's good. So at least he backs up. That's right. You best back up. All right, let me lock his rook into place so he can't steal my pawn. Okay, let me threaten his bishop there. Okay, at some point I want my... Okay, everything's lining up perfectly. Okay, hear me out, hear me out. If he doesn't move his rook, if he goes for something... Oh, no, he won't do that. Ah, dang it. So he saw through my sneakiness. Okay, so I got the advantage, but not on time. So I do need to be... I have to be a little bit faster. Okay, at least now I'm threatening him there. Yes, yes. Okay, I'm gonna try to do a trade-off. Okay, trade-off is good. The problem is I have 2 doubled up pawn structure, so it's not like the most ideal situation to be in. As you can see, I'm basically bound. I'm almost guaranteed to lose one of those. That was going to happen, but now we're at least even again. And I got to do something about this pawn. So I'm just going to give up that pawn to go after this one. Hells yeah, I think I made the right choice. That was a sacrifice worth making because now I break his structure here. It's going to be really hard for him to try to protect both of these guys. Okay. I think he chose the most foolish of options because now I get an extra free piece. Hells yeah. Okay, don't mind if I do. I'm going to block that bishop. And then I'm gonna... What should I do? I gotta go fast. Okay, so now I protect my other pawn. And then... Okay. I don't know if that was the right move, but I just need to go fast now. Okay, I think it's just going to be a draw. He had the upper hand in terms of time, so I think it was basically locked in for a draw. Okay, I accept. I accept. But I want the dubs. Let's get the dubs in. All right, here we go. Ooh, he missed a free piece. Not that I'm complaining. I want to target this guy. Let's just trade pieces. Boom. Okay, so if he moves his knight, I get his queen, and I'm up by 1. So I think I did the right thing there for now. Let me back off. What's the safest way to back up? Oh shoot, I gotta be careful. Because my king is exposed there. So if his bishop goes there, which I think that's what he's planning to do, but I'm saying not so fast. Let's see. Target is rook. I'm okay if he does a trade-off. What to do here? I'm not sure. I might as well just... Okay, I'm up by 1, so I think I should offer some trades. So we'll start to even up the scoreboard a little bit. And then I want to target this pawn here. So good, good, good. He's falling for my traps. Oh shoot. 1, 2, 3. Oh my god, did I mess up? Oh no. Because if I think I'm screwed. Oh. I can't believe it. Okay, so 1 draw, 1 loss. So I guess I gotta start all over. Let's get 2 out of 3 dubs in here. All right, so he's doubling up. Oh, shoot. You fool. Why did I do that? All right, let's see if this trick works out. Because he might back out his bishop. Dang it. Dang it. He's too smart. This guy's too smart, man. What the heck? I don't want to play against the smarty pants. What the freak? What to do? What to do? I need to keep applying pressure somehow. Let's do this. At the very least, I can get the bishop out. So I think I'll be down by 1. All right, well, I didn't deserve that. Oh no, is this going to be a repeat of that one stream where I couldn't win a single time and then I... Okay, well, it's not going to happen. All right, so I lost 1 out of 3. Let's get the next 2 dubs. And then we can put this all behind us. Ooh, I like these games. Okay, so he took the bait. So now he's got a choice. He either takes my queen... Okay, so he didn't do that, but that's fine, because now I got 1 extra piece. And then I always get lost somewhere around here. I forget what I'm supposed to do. There's like a right way to play this and then plenty of wrong ways, and I always do the wrong way. But I am technically up by 1, so the gambit worked out. Cyroni says, win a game already? Well, you know. It's like It's like telling the U.S. to open the Strait of Hormuz already, you know? Easier said than done, my friend. Okay, so what is he doing here? I've never seen someone do this move on me. Because now it should mean I get a free piece, no? I get the rook, I think. Okay, we're entering uncharted territory. I haven't had someone do this sequence with me. So I'm up by 3. He's probably going to get this free pawn here, but I'm okay with that. I want to just block the ability for him to castle. Okay, that's fine. As I said, let me castle because I'm still okay. I'm in a safe. Okay, I'm up by 2. He can't castle and he can't move his king out of the way because my bishop is there. All he can do is move his knight. Yep, there it is. Let's threaten his bishop because I am a bit nervous about this bishop going there at some point if I can't protect it because he's got a line of sight into these guys. Okay, perfect. Then let me just threaten a check. Let's just push him out of the way. Let's force him to either move his knight back, which he did, good. And then let's start advancing. Oh wait, no, I gotta be careful. That queen has a nice line of sight, so let's see what to do here. Okay, good. He just lost his knight. Hells yeah, this guy's in panic mode. He just doesn't know what to do. Fine by me. All right, let's start chipping away, get some extra piece. He's gonna move his bishop, which is fine by me. Let's move this here. I'm gonna try to move my rook to an open space. Yeah, I think this is good. And then let's start advancing, I think. Oh, no, let's double up the rooks. Then let me push my rook forward because I'm going to target this weak spot here, I think. Yeah. Okay, all going to plan. Guten. What to do next? I want to get my bishop in play. I'm not exactly sure how. You know what? Let's try to trade off the queens here. Oh my god, I got 20 seconds left. Okay, I stop acting a fool. So if he doesn't take, I'm gonna try to go after this pawn here. So he might move his queen to this black square. Yep. Which is fine by me, because then I'm going to threaten that. Ooh, he's got nowhere to go. Hells yeah. Okay, I gotta be smart. 10 seconds left. Uh-oh. Oh my god, I'm running out of time. Oh my god. You gotta be kidding me, man. That was my game. I just ran out of time. That's the silliest of reasons to lose. God dang it. Okay, deep breaths. This is the one. We're gonna win this one. Come on. That's like the most pathetic way to lose. I can't believe it. Panicked. I mean, I did panic. Let's be real. That's just so stupid. All right, he didn't take the bait, but I'm okay with it because it lets me line up my soldiers there. Threaten that piece of shit queen. Let's limit how many places he can go. Let me protect my pawn. Then let's start advancing my knight. Let's push the knight forward. Okay. Let's just keep being a nuisance. No, I can't do that. Okay, let's push the pawn. Let's kick this bishop out of the way. This is a little bit tricky. I don't know what to do here. It's not the most defensible situation. And I gotta be careful of this open pawn. And I gotta be careful of this freaking bishop there. Alright, let's threaten the queen. I'm going to push this pawn forward in a second. I don't know when. Good news is we're about even on time. I'm up a little bit. Boom. Okay, so I got the free pawn. So we're back to even. And I got slight upper hand on time. He's about to take this pawn with the knight though, which is okay by me. Is it okay? It is okay. Because now I'm going to threaten the queen. And then I'm going to threaten the rook. So annoying, this guy. So annoying. It's okay. Two can play that game. Good news is I got two bishops, both like open lanes, so I can start causing a bit of a disturbance. And he's only got one bishop, so I know I can just avoid the whites. Shoot. I gotta be careful on time. shoot. I'm just leaving myself super exposed here. What the heck am I doing? I'm just being desperate here, okay? Don't judge me. I might win this. Yeah! All right. Returning the favor, okay? I lost last time by time. I win this time by time. What's happening, Xavier? No, not Xavier. Oh, it's, I don't know how to pronounce it, but XA Vero. Shalom says, why if it isn't my good brother, Yobel? Yes, it is me. You have guessed correctly. How are you doing? I'm doing very well. Is this new chess? I mean, I've been playing chess for like, ever since COVID. For fun, for sure. I just don't necessarily play on stream because I'm not like a professional or anything. However, for the past couple weeks since I've come back from my travels, I loved playing chess. It's like a nice little stress reliever for me. So I figured this will be a nice way to kind of get my blood pumping as well at the start of the stream. So I just play a bit of chess just until I can get two wins. I just need 2 wins out of 3, and that's my way of saying let's move on. So I got 1 win. Let's just get 1 more. I've been on a losing streak here though, so don't expect the most out of me. But thanks for saying hi. We're gonna get back to our regularly scheduled stream of editing my photos and videos. I got a bunch of YouTube videos lined up that's, you know, focused on filmmaking, yada yada. So yeah, we got a decent amount of work to get done. But first I need a win, all right? Your boy is not a loser. At least not in public. All right, what to do? This is a little bit of an awkward game. Everything is a bit mixed up here. Let's start simplifying the game structure a bit. Let's get rid of some of the... Okay, I technically have the upper hand a little bit because some of my pawns are on the white squares and he's got a black square bishop. I don't know if that actually means anything, but I'm going to pretend like it does. He's gonna move his pawn forward, I feel it. Or okay, that works too, I guess. You think that one? Yes. Fine by me. Where should I apply pressure? I think I want to push this forward. I don't want him connecting these 2 pawns. So let's make it a single pawn stranded. Because it's like really hard for him to attack this pawn. Because this bishop doesn't really have much. It's only got those 2 squares, right? So in the meantime, I'll start trying to block others. Shalom says, that's one thing because it's been months I haven't watched a stream. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've been traveling for the past 2 months. And then, what to do? Let's apply pressure. This is me saying back the F off, biatch. Let's move this forward. So he knows what I'm going for. So he's probably gonna, yep, there it is, okay. Fine by me. I'm just trying to force him to... I'm actually not sure what I'm doing. I don't really have time to watch this, but I'm hoping I can watch this again. Yeah, anytime, Shalom. See you soonly. Yes, yes. And feel free to always watch the VODs. The VODs also help. Okay, if I advance this, it turns into a quagmire. Boom, boom, boom. He attacks. I attack. He attacks. Okay, so I lose if I do that. Fair enough. But what if I back this piece off and then push it forward? Now I think it's an even Steven trade. I think. Okay, but the good news is I've got this knight, so I got to put my knight to use because it's such a slippery thing when you're in the end game stage, I think. Because it can, like, you know, do its weird, awkward L-shaped jumps. So let's use that to my advantage here. Another problem is I'm running out of time. Shoot. Uh-oh. Okay, I completely... Oh man, it's not good. Not looking good, ladies and gentlemen. I may have effed myself in the A, as they say. This guy is just not having it. Okay, well, I just got crushed. Daytor says hello to everyone. Guten Abend, Daytor. Okay, I think I'm 1 for 1, so let me win this one. And then we're done. The problem is, I don't think I'm ever going to get better at chess. I think I've already hit my ceiling, which is basically in this ballpark I'm at, which is like in the mid 1600s is my chess rating for this. So if I'm continually playing against other people at around that same rating, I mean, it's not an easy, fun place to be, okay? I'll let him take the bishop. Sometimes I don't mind having this like doubled up pawn structure. Otherwise, I think sometimes people predict you're going to do everything possible not to have that pawn structure. So I find life is more, there could be more interesting moments where it's unpredictable if you prefer or you allow yourself to have that, if that makes sense. And basically at this point of chess, it does feel like to get better, it's just about being unpredictable or like not doing all the standard moves. That's what I think. But I just made all that up, so you know. I'm gonna target this knight. If he doesn't move that knight. Okay. Okay, how do I get this guy? What's the best way to do it? He protected that pawn, unfortunately. Okay, I'm going to double this up, assuming I'm going for this, but really, I'm going for the bishop, the epic power move right there. Lock in those two. Let's see if he sees what I'm trying to do, or if he... Dang it, he saw. He saw! He's like, you think I'm an idiot? I mean, one can hope, you know? Dang it. Now what do? I put a lot of put all my energy on that particular move, and I didn't really have a follow-up. Good news is he's also equally stun locked. He has no idea what to do. Shoot. Okay, let's back up my piece. Oh, shoot. Dang it. I just let him get a free piece. But that all goes according to my plan. Because now I get at least... okay, we're back to even. I did... You know what? I'm proud of myself. I didn't have many good moves left. Because I did kind of screw myself over there. But in terms of all the things I could do to save myself, I did the actual right play. That we're back to even. Hells yeah. That was good. But now I'm a bit stuck. I have to protect my pawn here. Let's get into trade-offs. Okay, he didn't accept. Fine by me. Let's push my pawn out the way. Let's back up. Oh, shoot. Oh, no. I screwed up. You know what? One more game, regardless of the results, and then we can't do this all day. All right, we cannot. I shall not. One more game. Anytime now, man. You fool! Watch me counter that with this move. Boom. 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 He takes, I takes, we takes, you takes. Okay, I think I'm feeling this one. I'm feeling the vibes of this one. Idiot. He got lost in the sauce and lost count. Typical noob. Okay, now let me slow down. This is, after all, my final game, so... Alright, he's got to kick his bishop out, or he's got to move his queen out the way. Or not. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. All right. That's right. You resign. Peace at last. All right, let's check out the videos we're gonna watch today. Why 7 is a masterpiece. That's a good one to start with. All right, let's do that. All right, so here's the deal. As I'm watching these videos, I will be editing. That is the name of the game. So what are we editing? Well, yesterday we had some pretty nice shots that we stopped on. Let's go quickly down memory lane. What did we edit yesterday? Let's start with this one. So just chill. Yeah, not really anything special. There was just like one little blade of grass with some light illuminated off of it. So why not? Next shot. This one I edited a long time ago, so it doesn't really count. Hold on. This one was a fun one. We got the 2 camels doing the same pose. Then we got 2 camels doing the same pose landscape for sunset. Then these ones turned out quite nice, and it's a nice reminder that I think when you shoot in this kind of like tele lens style, when you're able to punch in, it just like makes shots look so much more cinematic, right? Without even having to put in much effort. Wide angle shots, a lot of effort is needed for me at least. Tele lens, super tele lens shots, it just like does the job for you. Oh, by the way, Cyronius, I apologize. I see on this activity feed, it didn't show up on my little chat thing, but you had said, I'm excited to show you the Discord bot later. Oh, yeah. I saw you sent me a link. I just joined it. I did join it without really looking into it. So I think this is one of my favorite shots I took of my my client slash friend slash photographer, shooting in the middle of this wheat field. So you get that nice like bokeh effect. You get the nice blurry effect of the tall blades of grass across the scene here. So yeah. Then another version of that vertical landscape. This one turned out quite nice once it loads up. So going a little bit more vintage with it. Then we got the vertical camel. We got a lot of camel shots. So, but these are like those special camels. I forget the name for it. It's like Bactrian camel. It's the double humped camel. Okay, and this was the last one I edited yesterday. So this is where we're going to start off, is whatever's after this. And let's pause the music. Let's get this going.
My video on Fight Club. 7 has...
Okay, I watched 7 years and years and years ago, and I actually feel like it's probably time I watch it again. Because when I watched it, I was way too young, so it was a little too scary for me. I seem to remember when I watched it. Now, I'm a big boy, okay? I got big boy pants on. I think it's time. Because I know it's supposed to be one of the best movies, and all I just remember was, obviously it was a very graphic, it's a, I mean, spoilers here, I guess, because we're watching a making of, but it was a very graphic ending, or at least a very twisted ending. So not good for young children.
Ever since my video on Fight Club, 7 has easily been the film review that's been requested the most.
Also, I didn't know Edward Norton. I didn't know Edward Norton was in this movie. Okay, and this is not from our boy Kono, whatever his username is. It's a new person named Bunana Man. Why 7 is a masterpiece.
I always intended to talk about it, and with my recent review of Alien 3, I figured it made sense to move on to David Fincher's very next project. 7, released in 1995, stars Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt as detectives aiming to catch a serial killer who themes his killings around the 7 deadly sins. Despite its disturbing subject matter, it did well both critically and commercially, which shocked pretty much everyone involved. Though David Fincher is now considered almost a household name, that couldn't have been further from the truth in 1992. While Alien 3's production woes are now common knowledge, at the time, a majority of audience members heaped much of the blame for that movie's mediocrity on Fincher himself. Due to this negative experience, Fincher was content to simply return to directing music videos. He stated that he'd rather, and I quote, die of colon cancer than make another movie. That being the
Nice.
case, how did Fincher eventually become attached to this project? And why did Seven's success shock both the studio and critics?
Well, tell us.
In 1991, Andrew Kevin Walker was working as a sales assistant for Tower Records in New York City. Around that same time, he began working on a script entitled Seven. He based it on his own experience of moving to New York from Pennsylvania and set the story in a bleak, unnamed city. Walker was eager to become a writer, and also around this time, film studios were looking for high-concept scripts, or in other words, stories that could be sold to an audience in a single sentence. And Seven matched this formula perfectly. The concept of two detectives hunting down a serial killer whose murders are inspired by the seven deadly sins basically markets itself. Eventually, the script was optioned by a small company known as Pentafilm. A few years later, the company fell on hard times though, and were forced to sell the script to New Line Cinema. Around this same time, David Fincher had gone back to his true passion of directing music videos. Despite being satisfied with this, his agent still presented him with a script for Seven.
Wait, what music videos is he known for? What music videos is David Fincher known for?
So before Fincher was crafting all your favorite moody movies, he was out there making music videos cool. He directed Madonna's Express Yourself in Vogue, which basically set the bar for pop divas. He did George Michael's Freedom 90, which is just supermodels and attitude. And he directed Love is Strong for the Rolling Stones, because even rock legends needed a little Fincher edge.
Okay.
Although initially being disinterested in a police drama, Fincher eventually found himself captivated by this story, and its ending in particular. Fincher expressed interest in directing Seven to New Line Cinema, to which they quickly realized that he had accidentally been sent the wrong version of the script. See, back when Seven's script was optioned by Pentafilm, they really didn't like Walker's original ending, that ending being the one we know today. Instead, they insisted on several rewrites in order to maintain a certain mainstream appeal. Not wanting to risk his project being cancelled, Walker acquiesced and ended up writing 13 drafts of Seven in order to meet the studio's demands. When the script was acquired by New Line,
He really missed a mark there. He should have written 7 drafts of 7. Why 13?
Cinema, they intended to move forward with one of Walker's more mainstream endings. However, when the script was sent to Fincher, he received the original script with the unorthodox ending intact. New Line Cinema eventually sent Fincher the up-to-date script, but he was determined to direct the original. New Line Cinema's
Nice.
president of production, Michael DeLuca, shared Fincher's preference for the original script, and together the two devised a plan to begin filming in just 6 weeks so that the executives wouldn't have time to interfere with the production. Fincher has stated that one of the biggest mistakes he made on Alien 3 was listening to the executives and assuming that they'd take the blame for that movie's mediocrity. That didn't end up being the case, and at the time, Alien 3 did impact Fincher's reputation as a director. Learning from that experience, Fincher fought back against any interference from the studio on Seven. The executives repeatedly tried to lighten Seven's tone, with the biggest point of contention being the ending, which we'll discuss in detail later. Once Brad Pitt was signed onto the project, Fincher's fight for the original ending became significantly easier, as Pitt stated that he wouldn't do the film unless this ending remained.
Nice.
Eventually, the ending was allowed after executives were assured that the contents of the box would not be shown. And considering how important the ending is to this story, this was a necessary compromise. Notably, Andrew Kevin Walker stated that changing the dark tone of the ending would remove the core of the story, and of course with it being his story, he would know best in this case. Walker did go on to make a few small changes to the story though, and a shooting script was completed in August of 1994. Seven had a hard time getting both cast and crew involved due to its subject matter. Some even went as
It's like the movie Old Boy, that Korean one. Super amazing movie. Very disturbing. And one of the craziest plot twists I've ever, seen in a movie. Definitely unpredictable. Like, I really don't want to say much more because it's one of those that's like worth watching without any spoilers. But I can also see the same thing where, given the topic is quite disturbing in general across the movie, but towards the end or whatever, I can see a world where they're like, oh, we got to soften the edges for public viewing. But I can't, and part of me, especially when I first watched the movie, Same thing with 7. I mean, there's so many disturbing elements where I was like way too young to really. I definitely don't prefer those types of things back then. Nowadays, I think I'm a little bit more open to it. Where I think I still draw the line in terms of like twisted, disturbing endings or moments is probably $1 Million Baby. That movie, I still get so pissed off when I think about it. Because it was just like, how long is that movie? $1 Million Baby movie duration. Yeah, that's 2 hours and 12 minutes of my life I'll never get back. And it was 2 hours and 12 minutes of just like dread horror. I'm not sure what the right word would be. It was just so depressing. And it was like constant, like the mood, the tone just gets worse and worse. And it's like, there's no like positive, happy endings ever in this, in my opinion. That's all I remember from it. And I just hated that. It's kind of why I stopped watching Walking Dead as well. Talk about amazing premise. And then that show just never seemed to end. Like, how many freaking seasons are it was like 10, 20? Good morning, Mazan. Hello, hello. We're just doing some photo edits here as I watch some movie or YouTube videos about making of different films. Right now it's on 7, so.
As far as to call the script evil.
And I'm editing some Mongolian
the
photos.
The film is actually trying to convey to the audience. The crew they eventually did get did a phenomenal job, though. The production value in 7 is some of the best I've ever seen, especially considering its budget. It's not that the $34 million budget was small per se, but considering the personnel involved and how perfectly executed everything is, I would have expected the budget to be higher. While Andrew Kevin Walker was on set.
What's in the box, says Mazan. Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine if they changed if they listened to the execs? That line is so profound. And obviously it's such a meme because they actually had something in the box, right? Like, anyways.
To adapt
I need to rewatch this for sure.
Following the dark tone the script had established, 7 had an incredibly distinct
Mazan, you need to watch Old Boy if you haven't already.
Dark and grimy, and the nonstop rain gives it this imposing presence. Even the simple fact that the city isn't given a name adds to its intrigue and oppressive nature. The crime scenes also all come off as dank and pungent. Fincher had sets built without removable walls, making these crime scenes feel claustrophobic, which only adds to the tension.
Mazan says, yep. Okay.
I've heard it said the viewer can almost...
Quick pause. I don't actually know what to do with this photo. I don't do a lot of landscapes, so I am admittedly a bit stuck here. I was hoping maybe one of my presets could enlighten me, but I'm not seeing much. So we're just going to do a little bit of random custom edits.
Almost smell the world of 7. And this is a credit to both the cinematographer, Darius Kanji, and of course the production designer, Arthur Max. While 7 often receives praise for the set design of both the crime scenes and city, really every single setting in 7 is expertly designed. From the library to the precinct, and especially John Doe's apartment, the aesthetic of 7 is cohesive, and each location is perfectly crafted to support and further the themes of the story. 7's world is often described as realistic, but I somewhat disagree with that notion. While there is definitely an element of realism in the production and set design of 7, I think the world is far more dystopian and stylized than people give it credit for. I think the use of the word realism mostly comes from cynics who see the world as though it were as despicable as the hellscape depicted in 7, though I don't think that was really the intention. I believe the city in 7 was an intentionally exaggerated urban environment, made for the purpose of shocking the viewer. And what the film stands to gain from this is the ability to make a deep impression on the viewer and firmly root the themes into the audience's minds. The cinematographer for 7, Darius Kanji, described it best, saying that 7 has a heightened sense of realism. And the cinematography in 7 also plays an important role in making a deep impression on the viewer. 7 features the camera pans and tilts typical of a Fincher production, and this movement ensures that the characters are the focus of each scene, which is especially vital.
So David Fincher is known for camera pans and tilts? I'll have to keep that in mind. Mazin says super wide angle. Yeah, this was a stitch. I stitched a few photos together to create like a little panoramic.
In a story like this, the lighting throughout this film also works in harmony with the dark tone and atmosphere of 7. Most sequences are barely lit, sometimes with light only emitting from the flashlights each character holds. One sequence that especially stuck out to me was the moment when Somerset and Mills investigate John Doe's apartment. The red lighting creates an eerie atmosphere that has the subjects remain visible, while the larger environment is still obscured. The studio actually took issue with just how dark the film looked. However, when Kanji brought this up to Fincher, Fincher refused to compromise. In the end, I think this was the correct decision. Everything the audience needs to see is well within view, and the darkness creates suspense during specific sequences. Even just the casual conversations in this film look great though. Really almost every shot looks like a painting. I can't compliment Darius Kanji's work on Seven enough. Despite his expertise, one sequence Kanji had difficulty with was the chase scene in the rain. This was due to the many fast camera movements, long takes, and tight spaces. And this was only made worse when Brad Pitt slipped on the hood of a car and injured his left hand.
Oh.
Since Pitt already was on a tight schedule in order to finish filming Seven in time for his next project, his injury was worked into the plot, with his character Mills also injuring his hand during this chase sequence. And this worked out seamlessly. Mills' broken hand helped to ground the film in reality in my eyes, as it's unlikely anyone would walk away from a chase like that unscathed. Small details like this just go to show the expertise of those involved in this production. Another impressive aspect of Seven is the editing. Despite its dark subject matter, Seven still ends up being a pretty easy watch. Firstly, because of its relatively short runtime, being just over 2 hours, and secondly, because it keeps a fairly brisk pace throughout. And a way it's able to maintain this pace is through the many great transitions throughout the film. As was mentioned at the outset, the studio didn't expect Seven to be a hit. They thought its dark subject matter lacked mainstream appeal, and they seemed to be right based on audience reactions to the test screenings. At one such screening, Fincher overheard one lady say afterward, "The people who made that movie should be killed."
Oh, snap. That's how I feel. No, I don't feel that way. But like I said, yeah, you should never feel that way about a movie. Come on. $1 Million Baby, though, let me just say, it did get a reaction out of me just because of how freaking depressing it just feels like, what are those hydraulic pressers that you see sometimes you see videos where they crush whatever object? It just feels like a movie that they put my head in one of those hydraulic crushers, and then for 2 hours and 12 minutes they were just that's all that's happening the entire 2 hours and 12 minutes. So
of these strong reactions and even more pressure from the studio, some small changes were eventually made to the ending. Still, even with these changes, I doubt the studio anticipated the success Seven would become. There were lots of things going against Seven. Obviously there was the subject matter, but also Brad Pitt's role was very different from anything else he had played up to this point, so they couldn't rely on his fame. Also, Kevin Spacey was left out of the marketing in order to not spoil his character. And David Fincher
that was
didn't
crazy.
exactly have the best reputation after Alien 3. There were lots of reasons Seven should have failed, but despite all odds, it turned out to be a huge success. It grossed over $300 million on a budget of only $34 million. Positive word of mouth ended up being the primary reason for its success. What was it about Seven, though, that seemed to resonate with audiences?
glutton.
While Seven's opening may appear simple, without exaggeration,
Okay, this is good
I
enough.
think it is one
I'm
of
not
the
sure I want to
greatest
do much
film
more with
openings
this.
of all time. Now, for context, the first time I watched Seven, I had absolutely no idea what it was about. All I knew was that Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt were in it. Even the iconic "What's in the box" line I had heard previously, but I had no idea that it was in this film. And even with this complete lack of any and all context, I was immediately engrossed by Seven's world and plot structure. The first conversation between Mills and Somerset familiarizes us with their dynamic and their characters as individuals. And I can't overstate how incredible the dialogue is in this scene. It's so natural and delivered excellently by these actors. Somerset brings up how he's retiring in 7 days in a natural way that immediately makes the audience aware of the plot structure. When someone mentions Seven's opening, though, they're more than likely talking about the opening credits sequence, and for good reason. These opening credits help set the tone for the entire film. They're brash, harsh, and disturbing. David Fincher told Kyle Cooper, the director of this credit sequence, that he wanted the audience to want to run screaming from the theater during the title section. And I actually had the pleasure of first viewing Seven in a theater, and speaking from experience, I would say Kyle Cooper and his team succeeded in that goal. The
I don't
sequence
remember.
is jarring, and it definitely shakes the viewer awake in case they were disinterested previously. The shots are disturbing, not only because of what we do see, but also because of everything we don't see. We have no idea what exactly is going on, and this immediately puts the audience on edge. And on rewatch, there's a ton of small details viewers can pick up on. Overall, the whole thing took about 8 days to film and cost over $50,000. And I would say it was
Wait, for
well
the
worth
opening?
effort put into it, as it's probably the second most discussed aspect of Seven behind the ending. The song used for this opening is a remix of Closer by 9 Inch Nails, which perfectly fits both the opening sequence and the film as a whole. Also, the
Side note, a really fun TV show I just finished watching over, I think last week, on Netflix is Devil May Cry, the season 2. I really enjoyed season 1 when it came out. Was it like last year? Or not that long ago. And season 2 did not disappoint for me. It was such a fun watch. The action is insane. I like the storyline. I don't know much about it. I've never played the video games or anything like that. But one thing, and it stood out to me in season 1 as well, they put a lot of effort into the soundtracks throughout each episode. And I really appreciate that. Because there's something, yeah, man, if you watch Devil May Cry Season 2, Episode 1, oh my God, what was the soundtrack that they used? It's like some old school music that I barely recognized growing up, but it was like Devil May Cry Season 2, Episode 1 soundtrack. Papa Roach, that's what it was. See You in Hell, was that it? No, it was the Getting Away with Murder song. Oh, wait, why did I say I didn't recognize that? I recognized it, but it sounded slightly different. So they had some different rendition. Yeah, it was like some remix version. And it went so well with the opening scene, like the action that it was conveying. Anyways, my point is I do really appreciate when TV shows or movies put a lot of effort in terms of like not just choosing a random soundtrack out of many, but when it feels like they chose the sound, or like they made the visuals with that soundtrack in mind. And so, yeah, I think Devil May Cry did that really well. There was one episode of Devil May Cry Season 1, Rabbit, episode, backstory. Episode 6. Yeah, it was a very emotional story because, in my opinion, they were trying to copy. They're trying to copy. I say copy as if it's a bad thing, but there's a few of those movies or shows where you have a moment where there's no dialogue, and it's just soundtrack. Up is like the obvious example, but there's a few others I'm thinking of that's more recent times. But it's like this episode where, for the most part, you don't hear any real dialogue. It's just showing the backstory behind a few characters. And that's where, like, obviously soundtrack makes such a big difference. And I think they did a really good job with this episode. There's a few moments where I thought, I was like, okay, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit too cheesy, or there's something where the soundtrack wasn't, I don't know. But it was like, I like those types of things. I don't know why I'm talking about that. Let's keep going.
The reference to God in the lyrics establishes religion as an important concept in 7, with Catholicism and of course the 7 deadly sins being crucial plot elements. Immediately following the opening credits, we get our first murder victim, the gluttony killing. And this sequence utilizes all those impressive elements used to create tension mentioned earlier, like the darkness, the claustrophobic and dank set design, and a chilling music track. And keep in mind, this whole sequence takes place before it's clear that the killer is basing his murders on the 7 deadly sins. So while the detectives are scoping out this crime scene, the audience is also wondering what this all means. We're less than 10 minutes into the movie, and already the audience is fully immersed and invested in this story and world. For about the next hour of the movie, the story follows these same beats, the detectives finding more and more clues through John Doe's murders, and eventually closing the gap. As the murders continue, the audience naturally becomes more and more unsettled. However, interestingly, very little violence is actually shown throughout all of this. David Fincher described 7 as psychologically violent. Nothing is overtly shown, and this works for a few reasons. First off, the concepts alone are clearly more than enough to disturb an audience. And secondly, oftentimes the imagination goes the worst place possible on its own. Leaving the audience to fill in these blanks helps with pacing, allows the production to stay under budget, and is more effective than showing these moments would have been in the first place. The most important reason why the violence isn't and shouldn't be shown, though, is because that's not what this story is about. This is a story about people. The focus is on the characters, as is the case with every Fincher production. And nowhere is this approach more effective than in the now iconic ending. What's in the Box is easily one of the most popular movie quotes of all time, and for good reason. Obviously the delivery is great, but while the audience knows what's in the box, we never actually see it. Yet I found that when speaking to people about this film, some could have sworn that there was a shot showing the contents of the box. This reminded me of a similar situation in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. During the iconic shower scene, many seem to remember seeing Janet Leigh's character, Marion, be stabbed. However, there isn't a single shot that actually shows the stabbing. Of course, as a filmmaker, you want the audience to be fully convinced that she's being stabbed though, so you need to make it look as convincing as possible. And the reason why both this scene in Psycho and the box scene in 7 work is clever editing. In Psycho, because of how unexpected this moment is, the audience is completely shocked by the events taking place. Keep in mind, up to this point, Marion has been our protagonist, so for her to die halfway through naturally surprises the audience. So the audience is already disoriented and their imagination is running wild due to how shocking this moment is. Then we see the motion of the knife going down and there's a cut to Marion's reaction. Our mind fills in the blanks, and it does this so well that we can actually convince ourselves that we saw the stabbing. And 7 uses similar tricks.
What is this movie? Psycho? Psycho. 1960 horror mystery. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. This is a bias that I have, but when I see movies that came out in the 60s, 70s, whatever, I'm just like, it's not for me, dog. You know, I'll watch a remake of it, but it doesn't matter if you give it 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm just like, you know, if I get forced to watch it, fair enough. Unless it's like an animated movie, because then I feel like that one, it can still feel modern. You know what I mean? Saronius is asking, can I see your background again? That chimp looking up. Chimp looking up. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's like my Chrome browser, I think, yeah? Yeah. I forget what... This is something I downloaded a long time ago. It was some Chrome extension where you can do like a task list. And then I was able to put in my own photos. I forget if it's just the one, though. Yeah, I guess I might have just put this one photo in there. Makes me think of the William Dafoe looking up meme. Oh, yeah, that meme. That's hilarious. I never put that 2 and 2 together. Hold on. Willem Dafoe. Dafoe. The friend or Dafoe? William Dafoe meme. Can I zoom in on it? There we go. There it is. Although, wait, what is this movie from anyways? Where is it? Have I seen this movie? I don't think I have. But you are onto something. What movie is that? What movie is the iconic Willem Dafoe looking up meme from? At Eternity's Gate. At Eternity's Gate. Expression is different. Yeah, the chimp on the left, not the chimp on the left, as if there's 2 chimps. The chimp looks like he's resigned to his fate, whereas Willem Dafoe looks like he's not ready. Okay, At Eternity's Gate. Is this a good movie? I like Willem Dafoe a lot as an actor. Ooh, I also like this guy, Mads Mikkelsen and Oscar Isaac. Damn. When did this movie come out? 2018? 6.7. All right, 6-7%. No wonder it turned into a meme with that kind of rating. Famed but tormented artist Vincent van Gogh spends his final years painting blah, 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 blah. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm just not really into biographical films. It's the same reason I still haven't seen Oppenheimer yet. So it is one of my biases. 2 biases. 1, old movies. If it came out in the 60s and 70s, you know, so I'm probably not going to watch it. And number 2, if it's like a biographical, unless it's like an action biography. If it's about World War II or one of those, like Saving Private Ryan style, although that wasn't really a biography, but yeah, if it takes place during some kind of action-packed stuff, then sign me up. If it's just about an artist living out his last days, I don't know, man. You're going to have to sell it to me a bit more. Okay, anyways.
Firstly, the tension really kicks off when Somerset looks in the box and claims that John Doe has the upper hand. Now keep in mind, John Doe is currently handcuffed in the middle of a field with a gun to his head. How could he have the upper hand? So immediately the viewer's mind is racing and they begin asking themselves the question, what could possibly be in that box?
What's in the box?
Once we're told what John Doe did to Tracy, the scene begins rapidly cutting between the characters and their reactions, disorienting the audience. Finally, there's a 2-frame cut to Tracy's face that gives the viewer a subject. And just like that, the viewer's imagination completes the effect. And this is done just before Mills finally decides to kill Doe. By not allowing the audience to see the contents of the box, we can better relate to Mills as our imagination runs wild alongside his. So that's why when he finally kills Doe, we've likely justified it in our minds. And Mills' distraught expression afterward is likely reflected in the viewer.
Man, Brad Pitt's such a good actor. I wonder if there's a way to like,
As with previous,
could you like somehow quantify who is the best actor based off of like all the roles they've done? But I don't know. I'm assuming there is no real way to do it. But
mentioned, 7 is about people and also the relationships between them. Mills and Somerset are polar opposites. Mills is headstrong, emotional, and brash. Somerset, on the other hand, is calm, intelligent, and calculated. And all of this is well reflected in the costume design, with Mills wearing oversized, wrinkled shirts and garish ties. Meanwhile, Somerset's clothes are neatly pressed and fitted. Somerset is also world-weary and seems to be apathetic towards society. He wants to run away from the city as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Mills fought to be assigned to the city. He believes he can be a hero and actually make a difference. And there couldn't have been a more perfect cast for these characters. Brad Pitt sells the naivety and inexperience of his character, yet his natural charisma ensures that he remains likable. And of course, Morgan Freeman is more than capable of playing a tired detective. The two act as foils to each other and both remain very likable characters, especially in moments of levity, of which there are a surprising amount considering the subject matter. Somerset's entire visit to Mills' apartment is hilarious, and the moment where he realizes that Mills poured him wine in a pint glass always manages to get a laugh out of me. In hindsight, these moments almost lure the viewer into a false sense of security, especially when considering the ending. Interestingly, the characters who actually end up being the most similar are Somerset and John Doe. Both are intelligent, well-spoken, and have a general disdain for the apathy they find among society. Where John Doe sought a solution, Somerset sought escape though. In earlier drafts of the script, the opening moments of the film would have seen Somerset visit his home out in the country, where he would have cut out a piece of the wallpaper that he'd carry with him throughout the story. This piece of wallpaper actually can be seen on his dresser in this shot, however the scene was scrapped. While I like the idea of the scene, I do think it would have hurt the pacing of the opening, which is phenomenal as is. It also would have taken away from the city's imposing presence, since we would have left the city in the opening moments of the story. Either way, Somerset's plan of leaving everything behind is well established. We soon realize that Somerset is only feigning apathy though. This is seen when he decides to go back to the gluttony crime scene, and when he later helps Mills with his investigation of the Greed murder. One thing I immediately noticed on my first viewing of 7 was just how loud the sounds of the city were when no one was speaking. During every scene taking place outside, you can hear planes, police sirens, cars driving by, and shouting in the streets. Somerset covers up this noise each night by using a metronome. For all intents and purposes, this metronome represents Somerset's forced apathy. He wants to drown out the wickedness of the city and just pretend it doesn't exist. Eventually, a major shift occurs when Mills confronts this mindset though. He calls out Somerset's apathy for what it is, a front in order to protect himself. He feigns apathy in order to justify his departure, but in reality, a part of him still holds out on hope. It's no wonder then that after this conversation with Mills, Somerset shatters the metronome, or in other words, is no longer apathetic to what is going on around him. Rejecting apathy isn't as simple as destroying a metronome though. Mills clearly rejects apathy. He believes he can and will make a difference. But no matter how hard he tries, he can't completely let go of apathy. He can only focus his attention on so many things at once. This is shown in the scene where Mills tells Somerset about a cop who was shot right in front of him. As he's telling the story, he realizes that he can't remember the officer's name, and because of Mills' desire to care and to make a difference, he's upset with himself that he can no longer remember the man's name. The reality is that it seems impossible to reject apathy in this environment. This apathy is seen once again when John Doe's allowed not only to get a ride in a cab, but then walk straight into a police precinct covered in blood and only get a response when he screams. Also, the delivery of this line is incredible. The scream genuinely gave me chills in my first viewing, as it was completely unexpected, and you can really hear the frustration in Doe's voice. Also, apparently it was Kevin Spacey's idea to omit his name from the marketing, and this was an ingenious decision. By removing him from the marketing, the audience is unable to put a face to the killer, which helps to create an air of mystique and intrigue around him. And then, once we finally do learn his motivations and ideology, it actually does live up to the terrifying image of him both the audience and characters have been building in their minds. While both Somerset and Mills are clearly concerned about the growing apathy surrounding them, Doe proves to be far more bothered by the phenomenon, so much so that it motivates him to murder and torture. The most brutal of Doe's crimes, however, or at the very least the most memorable, is the sloth victim. This sequence features a significant amount of buildup, and it's one of the few disturbing images actually shown in Seven rather than hinted at. Why was such an emphasis put on sloth in particular? Well, to understand that, we first have to define what exactly sloth is as it relates to the Catholic faith. The original Latin word for sloth is acedia. Rather than simply denoting laziness, a more accurate translation would be spiritual apathy, or the lack of care or feeling. A heavy focus was put on sloth due to its close ties to the primary theme of apathy. The torture of the sloth victim hyperbolizes the effects and dangers of apathy. It's an internal rotting that could potentially turn someone into a mere shell of a human being. The sloth victim can be seen as the warning example, and by John Doe's code of judgment, everyone in this city should be subject to similar torture. That's why he took such care with this sin in particular. Sloth is the key to his whole philosophy, of course that philosophy being flawed and psychotic. Still, the narrative is very against apathy as a whole, as evidenced by its final line. One reason test audiences responded negatively to Seven at first, though, was because this final line actually wasn't in that cut. After Mills shot Doe, it simply cut to black. After that was received negatively, this short epilogue was added, with Mills in the back of a police car and Somerset quoting Ernest Hemingway. And this is a solid addition. The theme of the film...
Wait, what was the quote? Did I miss it? What's the quote at the end of... You know what? Let's ask ChatGPT that. I want to hear it in ChatGPT's voice. What is the quote at the end of the movie Seven?
Well, at the end of that cheerful ride that is Seven, Morgan Freeman's character drops a line, quoting Hemingway. "The world is a fine place and worth fighting for." He then adds his own twist, saying, "I agree with the second part. Leave it to a serial killer manhunt to make everyone a realist."
Okay.
Remains the same either way, but the Ernest Hemingway quote drives home the theme to the audience. It simply states the world is worth fighting for no matter what. So it reassures the audience that even though the good guys lost in a manner of speaking, each individual should still reject apathy and fight for the world around them. Even without this quote, I'd say the message is the same though. Apathy not only created a monster like John Doe, but allowed him to thrive. When Doe murdered the lawyer, Somerset and Mills wondered how he got out of the building undetected. We never receive an answer to this question, but most likely, based on what we've seen, he may have simply walked out of the building covered in blood as everyone was too wrapped up in themselves to notice. If apathy wasn't treated as a virtue and someone bothered to call the police, several lives could have been spared in the end. That conclusion does require a bit more thinking to reach though, so it is understandable that with the message this important and easily misconstrued, that it was outright stated in the closing moments. Clearly, Seven's message deeply resonated with audiences. Today it's widely regarded as a classic and ranks highly on many all-time lists. It also revitalized Fincher's reputation and interest in filmmaking. The unexpected success surprised many involved, probably because they didn't realize how prevalent the issues discussed within were. It's the kind of film you would never expect to be made from a large Hollywood studio, mostly because they wouldn't know that it needed to be made. Fortunately, Seven's message was wrapped in a high-concept, easily digestible script that studios tend to froth at the mouth for. And all of this not to mention the execution of the concept, which was done so meticulously and with such care that it's evident just how talented each individual involved is. Seven is a film made with the determination of a passion project and polish of a blockbuster. Films like this are usually turned down by studios or meddled with until they're unrecognizable, but every once in a while one slips through the cracks thanks to the efforts of a team of bold filmmakers. Due to its success, Seven did receive more content after release. There was a 7-issue comic series showing John Doe's perspective during the 7 days, and some of his backstory as well. There was also a proposed sequel called 8. That could honestly be a whole video on its own though. The concept was eventually turned into a movie called Solace, which completely bombed, both critically and commercially. So that should give you a pretty good idea of the bullet that was dodged the second that script was taken out of this universe. Either way, Seven has remained an ever-enjoyable classic, even 30 years later, and it's a film I tend to revisit frequently. Ever since my first viewing, it's been one of my favorite movies. If you haven't seen it, of course I highly recommend that you do so, although I really hope you did that before watching a review of it. If you did enjoy the video though, let me know in the comments, and subscribe for more content.
That was great. I like it. Thank you, Mr. Boonana Man. All right,
For me, this movie came. It feels like it came at the exact perfect time in my career, in my life. It felt almost nostalgic, like the first movie I ever got.
Ooh, yeah, I'm excited. This one's from GQ. The Odyssey stars Robert Pattinson, Matt Damon, and Tom Holland have an epic conversation. Sounds like this movie is going to be an epic, no pun intended. So.
Favorite movie? What's her favorite? Well, okay, I'll start with Rob. I would say there's a huge body of work, but I would say Josh and Penny's movie, Good Time. That was
that is
awesome.
amazing.
Because I think you came on everybody's radar in those huge movies, and you were in the middle of that firestorm of paparazzi, and you know, you were the heartthrob and all of that stuff, and then suddenly it was like, gone. No, but I mean, but it feels like you curated that and really kind of deftly and beautifully and made the career you wanted to have.
I think meeting Josh and Benny, I saw this little picture from their previous movie. I was always kind of looking for kind of interesting new direction and stuff. And
Robert Pattinson is British? Why do I just assume everyone's American? That's my bias.
image they'd chosen to promote it, I was certain they were going to say it was going to be an Eastern European director or something. I meant to find out they're from New York. I was like, oh, I just know. And then, yeah, meeting them, I could just, there was such a palpable energy around them that I think, I just remember thinking, like, I think you just got to kind of hitch your horse to this. Is that the expression? Hitch your horse to the wagon?
Hitch your wagon to the horse.
So you can just feel it's like the train is about to leave the station.
That's so, because you talk about like buying a stock low. Like, I mean, you look at those guys now, right, and they're just extraordinary, you know, and everybody knows it, but...
Okay, I need to know the age. Okay. I feel like Tom Holland is such a youngin'. Is he even like... I'll be shocked if he's 25. Maybe he's 20... Maximum 28. I don't think he can be much older than that. How old are Robert Pattinson, Matt Damon, and Tom Holland?
As of now, Robert Pattinson is 40 years old, Matt Damon is 55 years old, and Tom Holland is 30 years old. All of these ages are based on their birthdays, so they're accurate right now.
All right, I stand corrected. 30 years old. 40, 55, 30. Okay.
But you were kind of the first on board.
The way they write dialogue, it just immediately makes you want to say it out loud, and like it's so rare to do. And I kept wanting to read it to people and parties and stuff.
Right. That's a very good sign.
Yeah, and it was like, and everyone else was like, yeah, cool. I was like, you don't understand.
What was that story you told where you like read a cab driver?
No shot. Tom Holland is also British? Man, my world is being...
Didn't you read a cab driver, a section from a movie you were doing?
Yeah.
You've definitely told me. It was like
I think I'd done that a few times. No, I did. It was the end of Remember Me.
Yes, that is what it was.
You read the monologue.
Yeah.
You're just like, I want to just workshop this for you.
Hey, what do you think about this?
Listen, we got another 20 minutes in the car. I just want to run this a few times.
But yeah, it was such an exciting thing. Have you guys ever had that experience when you you find a director who like you just personally believe in?
Yeah, Chris Nolan actually.
Yeah, but not. I'm trying to think if it's that early on in their careers. When I was younger, Doug Liman had already done 2 terrific movies when I signed up for the Bourne Identity.
What had he done before Bourne?
He did Swingers for like $250,000, and then he did Go, which I think was a few $1 million, but it's still one of my favorite movies of his. It's a really, I just watched it again a few months ago. I showed my kids. It's fantastic.
Still a really interesting choice for Bourne at that time as well. It's like really cool.
Yeah, they were, you know, that to the studio's credit, they chose him, and he created that whole franchise. That was all Doug in response to James Bond. Funnily enough, he was just like, because at that time it was like, I think Piers was doing it. It was the late 90s, and Doug said, I just don't relate as an American to this guy, and I think we need our kind of guy, and he's kind of going to be the opposite in all these ways.
Yeah, I really feel like you shaped the genre with that film.
Yeah, Doug did.
Yeah, I mean, from the action, from the fact that when you watch those movies, there is a part of you that really believes that stuff could be happening.
Yeah.
James Bond always kind of exists in the world of like, we know that this isn't real.
That's the joy of it. Doug was trying to really grounded. I mean, it's still an elevated world, but he was trying to make it feel kind of more.
Yeah.
We're kind of doing it in like unglamorous settings as well. It's always like
Yeah.
it's like nice, and you get like a kind of shitty car.
Yeah,
and
it's not an
like
Aston
some-
Martin.
It's never.
a
He,
Mini
he has no
Cooper.
gadgets. He's got to just figure it out.
I read the script of that all the time. It's such an amazing script.
Really?
The,
Where
the
do you
first
get
one.
that
Yeah,
from?
the
Really?
first one.
Yeah, Tony Gilroy.
It's the easiest to read script, and you can't put it down. It's fucking.
As I
amazing.
remember it too, the story was that Tony never read the book. Seriously,
Nice.
like he just heard the premise, and he was literally like, got it. And then he kept the premise, which is kind of the engine for the movie,
Yeah.
right? Like the guy's got amnesia and he doesn't know who he is, and he starts to realize he has this skill set and he doesn't know what the hell's going on. So you keep that, but like everything else, none of that's from the book.
After years of war,
Oh man, I'm excited for this movie.
no one could stand between my men
I actually haven't seen any trailers for this movie.
and home.
For me, this movie it feels like it came at the exact perfect time in my career, my life. It felt almost nostalgic, like the first movie I ever got, you know, and everything was new and shooting on film, like learning all of this stuff, and everything was in camera. Everything was, it was all on IMAX. So it was this new technology that, had never been done for a full film. It felt like my one chance in my life to kind of make a David Lean movie.
Right.
And it was like when you screened Lawrence of Arabia for us in the middle, it was such a great kind of midway through the shoot to look at that and go like, God, man, that's
This is where we're at.
and this is what people used to have to do and did, and it's what made us all fall in love with cinema, and we're getting a chance to try to do something at this incredible scale that is really, really ambitious and requires every single person to kind of max out on.
So for something as high polished as this in Hollywood, I'm wondering what kind of technology they're using, even for this interview. So they got I'm assuming a 4 camera setup. So what would they be using for this wide angle? I say high production, but like looking at the backdrop here, it looks like they just took a break from whatever scene they were filming, and they're like, let's just do a quick interview. Okay, so they are using a wide angle shot here. I wonder what lens they're using. My assumption is my assumption is for these types of interviews or podcasts, they're using like a 50 millimeter or higher. So maybe like a 50 or 85, something like that. And then what would be the light sources here? You think there's got to be, you think they have a key light for each of them? If it's like Hollywood level? Or is it, do they just have like one big ass light source on one side and another on the other? Well, clearly there's one light behind Robert Pattinson, one behind him, and then what's all being suspended above them? And then I'm assuming it's all those like boom microphones or something. Oh wait, no, hold on. Oh, I thought that was a lav mic over on the left.
And go like, God, man, that's
This is where we're at.
and this is what people used to have to do and did, and it's what made us all fall in love with cinema, and we're getting a chance to.
Okay, they got some kind of blue light. Is that right? They have some kind of blue light source behind the backdrop, maybe. They have like some kind of hair light. Damn, I don't know.
Try to do
as if I know
something
what's
at this
going on.
incredible scale that is really, really ambitious and requires every single person to kind of max out.
The only thing I forget if I watched it on stream, but there's some video I watched where it was explaining how if you film yourself or film a person with a wide angle lens, there is a bit of distortion in terms of how the face looks on camera. So they were saying if you shoot with, let's say, like a 20 millimeter, like for example, the camera I'm using. So if I'm using this from my stream, so if my streaming camera is a 20 mil, in the way that it showcases my face, it'll widen, I think. It'll kind of like add some level of distortion. Whereas if I filmed with like a 50 or an 85 or something even more, you get a bit more, I guess the way your face is shaped looks more, well, friendly, I think is the term I heard. Where basically, psychologically, you'll look more trustworthy if you use a 50 plus type of like a tele lens compared to shooting with a wide angle 20. That's what I saw in some video. I don't know how much it's backed by anything. Actually, that's a good question for ChatGPT. Let's ask. Get out of the way, Mr. Pattinson. I think I watched a video or someone was explaining how if you are filmed using like a 20 millimeter or some wide angle lens, the way your face is shaped or distorted compared to if you shoot with a tele lens, like a 50, 85 or higher, where your facial features are more normalized or something, where you look more trustworthy when you're shooting with the tele lens. Is there any truth to that, or where would that have come from?
Oh, there's truth to it, all right. Not, it ain't just some tall tale. Wide-angle lenses distort close features. Your nose looks bigger, your face gets stretched out like it's in a funhouse mirror. Now, telephoto lenses, they flatten things. Features appear more proportional, more like how folks expect to see a human face. So yeah, people do tend to feel more at ease looking at a normal perspective. That's why portrait photographers aren't out here putting a 20 millimeter lens in your face unless they're feeling mischievous.
But then let's say for Hollywood or for high production, if you're doing like a podcast or an interview setup, to get those tight, portrait frames of the interviewer or the guest or whatever, what do they usually shoot with? Like a 50 millimeter, or is there like an industry standard in terms of what lens is used for those?
Well, there's no law, but if you don't want folks looking like caricatures, they usually lean on something like a 50 millimeter or 85 millimeter. That sweet spot is flattering and trustworthy, no wide-angle antics. Interviews are those cinematic close-ups. They'll often shoot with a 50, 85, or even 100 millimeter. Basically, the industry's trying to make you look good, not like you're peering into a funhouse mirror.
Okay.
Like no department had it easy on this movie. No, it was. I've never seen a movie that was more ambitious to try to. I mean, this for me was definitely kind of the mountaintop. So I'm glad it came so far into my career.
Something I saw you do is when you did your big scene with Anne towards the end of the movie. It's like a 9-minute scene.
9 minutes.
You're like lying there in tears. They cut. It takes 5 minutes to reload the camera, and
Wait, isn't Tom Holland known for spoiling things? I've seen a few things pop up on my feed about like how he spoiled the ending to some Marvel movie or something. Is he about to give away things he's not supposed to? It's like when you're bawling after X person died, when your wife.
you stayed in it the whole time. And you were in that state for hours because of the nature of the way we had to shoot the stuff. I didn't have to be there that day, but I remember sort of being like, I can't leave. Like, this is unprecedented stuff that's happening right now. And to credit to Anne too, like she did the same, and they started on your coverage.
Yeah.
And she was bringing it on the other side before the. It was like, it was for me as a young actor to see two guys like really at the top of their game, operating like that. And also, you know, it's not easy circumstances to be working with that camera.
That's cool. She was phenomenal.
But it's also like when you did the fight.
I did see another random thing on my feed about how Tom Holland and I guess maybe it was Matt Damon or maybe Robert Pattinson, they would get so jealous because Christopher Nolan basically said Anne Hathaway was like perfect. Like her acting was like, basically he praised her acting as being like basically next to perfect. And then the dudes, you know, Tom Holland and them, they were like, man, Christopher Nolan never said that to me. What the heck?
When they were shooting the background guys who were reacting to your fight, and you'd been doing this fight for days. You've killed like 200 people by this point, and you're doing the full choreo, full out, hitting the ground. You guys really set the tone for us who were like working with Chris for the first time, working on a movie of this scale for the first time, of like what is expected and what is the work ethic.
I think Chris sets that tone. Like, I remember the first time I worked with him was Interstellar. and they were all up in Calgary, and they were shooting. I think I shot 4 days on that movie. And there's a scene where Matthew and I, wrestle on a glacier, and they said, we need you to fly up to Calgary for rehearsal and fittings and things like that. I was like, great. So I flew up to Calgary, and I got there. We went into this room and put on these spacesuits, and he had Matthew and I like fully wrestling in this, like months ahead of when. And I was like, okay, this is how this guy rolls. Like he's demanding of himself and everybody. I mean, it's all about the thing that he's trying to make. And I actually just rewatched Tenet, and I hadn't seen it except for the very first time I saw it, and I forgot how kind of emotional it is at the end of that movie.
I would love for an interviewer, to ask Robert Pattinson to explain Tenet. Did you follow your movie? Do you know what happened in that movie? You know what? As much as I think Christopher Nolan is amazing, that movie was so disappointing to me because I was like, what the hell's going on?
I just love it just really walloped me. I was like, wow, I forgot about that.
He has this brand that's like very, very universally exciting to everybody, which is like, it's so difficult to maintain at that level. I think probably Batman Begins was the first. I feel like I must have seen Memento before, but I remember the Batman movies having such a massive effect.
And I remember watching Memento for the first time, and it's actually, I've never directed anything, and I would love to one day, but I remember thinking for the first time, like, wow, that must be so cool to take people on a ride like that, and for people to leave a theater and have different opinions on things, or to be asking, like, did you understand what that was? And then obviously the Batmans. I remember taking my grandparents to watch the Batmans, because I would have been about 13 maybe when they came out, and obviously I love those movies.
I remember I was doing the Twilight movies when they were coming out, I mean a little bit afterwards. I think, actually, no, maybe the Batman Begins is probably 2006, maybe?
Yeah, probably somewhere in there.
I remember, like, when I was doing press for Twilight, being so full of, like, hope, like, when seeing those movies, because, like, it was just when every movie was starting to be a superhero movie, and it's like, oh, there's this kind of sort of outlier where it's like you can kind of have these kind of operatic performances that no one is discounting, like, at all. They're just saying that they're really amazing performances in it. And the movies they're really cool. And it's kind of a before and after Chris Nolan, I think, for superhero movies. But the weird thing is it's always impossible to replicate them.
Yeah.
They sort of feel dark, but they're actually really fun, which is almost impossible to do. Right. I remember talking to Chris when I first got the job. Like, I was supposed to be very, very secret. His first question was, so what did they make the cape out of? And I was like, just so curious. He's like, and I was like, oh, it's kind of like messed up looking at it. No. It should always look like a superhero, like pristine, no matter if you're blown up or anything. And I was like, oh, interesting. I never even thought about it.
Like the rules, right?
Yeah, And I was like, oh, I'm sort of doing the opposite.
Right.
I remember I did a movie where I had this kind of exoskeleton on, and we had these fight scenes, and we brought in Lee Smith, who had edited the Batman movies, and I was talking to Chris about it. I said, well, Lee came in and really helped with the action. He goes, yeah, because we had the same problem with the bat suit because it was actually so cumbersome. He's like, you take out the wind-up of the punch.
Mm. Oh, interesting.
So you're just cutting, it's like dun, 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 dun. It's like you never see him actually like pull his fist back and cock, and I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Like, if you're in this giant rubber suit, it's like impossible to play like an extended wide in, because
it's doing that in the wide, like cutting out the.
No. I mean, they're cutting in and out of the wides, and then in the close, they're just taking out the chambering of the punch. Yeah.
It's always the most embarrassing thing. You're just doing something, and I always notice that the more takes I do, I get louder and louder and louder with my noises and slower and slower. Like you're just like, just one punch, you're done.
And I think sometimes when I've been making the superhero movies, you sit in the meetings before the script has been written, and they have these big set pieces already that they want to try and somehow squeeze into the movie, and it always damages the character arc because the set pieces feel unnecessary, and I feel like Chris does the opposite of that, which is like, let's figure out the story and the arc of the characters first, and then the scale can be additive to that.
Also, the way he shoots, it really feels like an independent movie.
Totally.
Where you're shooting. It doesn't have any of that machinery, like you're saying, kind of overpowering it. It's,
totally.
he has all the elements that he needs, and then he trusts his heads of department to. He doesn't know where the camera's going to go with Hoyte. They know what the grammar of the film is, right? And then they find the shot based on the rehearsal, and then the camera's there, and then you see like Neil with the Marine unit, like get the boats in the back, you know, and suddenly these sailboats just come into the, and so like by take 2, you've kind of got like all of these things coordinated and working together, and it's not prescriptive. He lets it be kind of organically grow out of the, and it feels very kind of run and gun and indie.
Yeah, I found that in that fight scene that we did in the cave. That was the first kind of big day that I'd had on set, and we shot this fight scene, and I'd been rehearsing it for weeks, and he shot my side and your side in a complete take. There was no like picking up little sections of the fight, which in my world, when you do superheroes, you might do like a 1-second beat and cut, and then do it again and watch it and cut. And it just, you're right, it creates the most organic kind of setting.
And he had to slow you down because you were going
because I was getting too excited.
No, not even your choreography was like too good.
Yeah, because he wants it to be messy, and he doesn't want you to look like this kind of seasoned vet. Like my character's supposed to be kind of winging it for most of the time. And yeah, I found that to be really difficult day one.
I just always notice as well that there's something, he just has his capacity for concentration is just insane. I don't think I've ever seen another director who, you don't see him leave set. You don't see him leave right next to the camera, like ever.
No, with as much black tea as he drinks too, which is incredible.
It's incredible.
You never really see him leave.
Not at all. And I think the thing I admired about him the most, you know, beyond his talent and his leadership skills, is that this is the hardest job I've ever had in terms of like the workload, and I can only imagine what it was like for you. But he's there every day. He wouldn't ask you to do anything that he wouldn't do himself. Like when we were hiking up that mountain.
No, he doesn't ask anybody to do anything that he's not going to do too.
No, not at all.
Saying that, he did come tell me to hold this dog, which I was like, that dog is going to bite me. I was like, you hold it. Like, he doesn't know what to be held. Like,
Yeah, I
that was one of
remember
the scariest stunts I think I've ever done. It wasn't even a stunt.
I think I said to Ben Affleck when I got back that every location on this movie would have been the hardest location on any other movie I've ever done, and any day of work would have been harder than any other day of work on any movie I'd ever done. I remember like pulling up in the ferry in Favignana and him pointing to the top of the mountain. He's like, "That's where we're shooting," and you just start laughing. You're like, "Of course we are." And there's no oh, we got to walk up. Yeah, that totally makes sense, and walk down at the end of the day. You know, all together, and you know the grips are key. Building platforms like outside Zeus's cave in Pylos, like, you know, in the middle of a tree. Like, we had no business shooting in these places, and everybody knew it. And that was kind of this weird exhilaration that we all had, was at the end of every day, you'd be like, man, we made our day.
Yeah.
Like, great job, everybody.
It was an adventure, like, every day. What do you think was your hardest day? Like,
That's funny. I remember Himesh said to me, we were in Iceland, and
I wonder if that's how people felt on the set, or when they were filming Lord of the Rings, because that sounded so epic.
And it was like,
to just like be in New Zealand in like these crazy sets, or I guess filming Lost. My God, how amazing would that have been to be a part of? Just hanging out in Hawaii, filming on a freaking island. Like, what the heck, man? I'm jealous.
raining sideways on us. I mean, it was just drilling us. We were walking back to this ship that wasn't even a ship. It wasn't seaworthy. It was an art department creation that we just needed to be able to get on and off, all the guys. And it was like, it felt like it could go at any minute. But we're walking back, we're resetting, and Himesh said, "Do you think today is the hardest day of filming you've ever had in your career?" And I said, "I don't know, Himesh." I go, "But if it wasn't, it was another day on this movie and you were there, so you tell me." Because we were in some crazy places.
I remember turning up the first day I turned up in Favignana, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be nice hotel, in Italy," and no one was around. And I suddenly started seeing the crew and actors come back, and it literally looked like people were coming back from the trenches. I mean, I've never seen
By Friday afternoons, you could see, and everybody needed, like, and the weekends were just, people just went, they got a bite to eat, and they went to bed. And it was just, everybody was just
crawling home.
Yeah.
I think the crew, like,
I like that environment. You know, when to think back to, I guess, what I do with my I guess, quote unquote career. When I travel, that's exactly how it's like, you know, whether it's my photo tours and I'm bringing people with me or like film projects or whatever it is. The workshop that I just did for Acilia training, it's like every day you wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning, you're out the door, I'm carrying like multiple cameras and batteries and, you know, just like heavy amounts of gear, trekking through, getting to the Jeep, and then you're going to another location. Then you start off the day and you're just like shooting and shooting. And like it would just turn into like you never have time to sleep. And you're just working like 14 hours. I don't know what it was. Getting like 4 to 6 hours of sleep every night. And then you just do it again. And it's like so exhilarating. Yeah, I love those kind of environments. If I can be in that world more often, it's definitely worth it. Until I get too old, and then it's like, you know, I need a break.
Really, I've never seen a group of people work as hard as they
No
do
way.
and come together
And they're
be elite.
really experienced crew too.
Totally,
And,
yeah.
and I had that
Totally.
conversation with all of them at various times throughout the shoot. Like, hardest movie you've ever done? They were like, oh, fuck yeah. Like, not even close. Like, there's nothing that comes close to this. And I remember Nilo, the first AD, saying to me one day, we were sitting there probably halfway through, and we're out on the ocean somewhere, and they're setting up a shot. And Nilo goes, you know, you look around, every single one of these people could be on an easier movie and making more money.
Yeah, totally. Wow, yeah.
And like every single person was like a repeat customer. Like they'd done movies with Chris. They knew exactly what they were signing up for, and they wanted to be a part of it. And that you could really feel in everyday shooting.
I think the thing I love the most about our jobs is learning something new. You know, on the Odyssey, it's sword fighting. I've never done anything like that
Sword
before. So for me,
fighting.
you know, finding something where you can sit down with, you know, one of the best in the world in a very specific field. It's like James on the Odyssey.
Yeah, yeah.
Like learning how to shoot bow and arrows with this like absolute legend was so fun.
Yeah, I agree. It's that research part where, because you get this access that you would
Yeah.
just never otherwise get. Like,
Totally.
who would let you just
Totally.
into their life?
Yeah.
You know, like when you're researching someone.
I remember on Spider-Man 1, you know, in the UK, we really romanticize what the American high school life is like. You know, we watch movies and we see how fun it is and all that sort of stuff. And I secretly enrolled in the Bronx School of Science and went for like 2 weeks at this school.
Really?
I had like a fake accent. My chaperone pretended to be my dad and would like drop me off at school every day. And like, they're like the smartest kids in America. They're like genius kids, and I'm thick as shit, right, when it comes to science.
They should have dropped him off in like Southside Chicago. Enjoy. You know, you want that American romanticized story? Here you go.
And yeah, I took all the classes. I was great in gym. Like gym was like my class I really excelled at. But like, in what other line of work would you get to do something like that? You know?
So
It's
you
like,
went to school for 2 weeks.
Yeah, the Bronx School of Science, yeah.
And none of the kids knew? Like, would you go eat lunch with the kids? in
Yeah,
the
I made
cafeteria?
friends. I was like a new exchange student. I had a backstory. I have videos on my phone. I actually have a video on my phone of a teacher throwing chalk at me because I was on my phone, because I was trying to document it all. I'll show you afterwards. It's actually nuts. But yeah, like that research stuff, like there's no world in where you could do something like that.
I bartended down in Knoxville, Tennessee to pick up an accent, and did that for like a month.
For a month.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was a big break for me. It was in a Francis Ford Coppola movie, and I had a month to kill, and then we were going to have 3 weeks of rehearsals at, you know, in Napa Valley where he lived, and so I moved to Knoxville, and I just told the manager, this woman, I just told her what I was doing, and so it was an extra bartender for her at no charge, right? So I was like, I'll give all my tips to these guys, and I just need to be here, because if you're serving drinks to people, and the guy was a bartender in the movie, but if you're serving drinks to people, they talk to you, and so you can.
Do you find if you immerse yourself that much into an accent that you find it harder to shake it?
I don't know, it's weird for me, like accents, I have a really easy time with accents in America.
Okay.
They just come very naturally to me. I think because I have a pretty neutral starting place to jump off into these different directions. And then going abroad is much harder for me. Like, I still, for the life of me, all the movies I've done in England, I still can't hear, like, you know, I have friends, English friends, who go, like, I can tell you not only where a person's from, but where they're trying to make you think they're from.
Right.
And like your guys' understanding of all of that is so deeply ingrained, and I can't really hear it.
That's the thing. I always struggle with regional English accents, especially regional London accents, mainly because exactly because of that, because there's so much of who you are as an English person is purely accent based. I mean, I guess it's the same as American as well, but
it's very nuanced too.
The movie that I quote the most, probably in my life I've quoted the most, is probably Midnight Run. That was always a favorite. We used to quote Ben and I.
I say that. Got him! You got him!
What is it? The Midnight Run? Midnight Run. What is this movie? 1988 comedy action. Robert De Niro, yeah? Charles Grodin. I think I've seen him in stuff. Dennis Farina. Man, it's before my time. What's the reviews on this? 95%. Listen, if this is Matt Damon's favorite movie, to quote, he said. Okay, maybe this is worth watching. Midnight Run. I'll keep this in mind.
I say that all the time.
Yeah, so that one, and then with my kids, I definitely. With my dad, Three Amigos was one that with my brother and my dad, and with my kids, definitely a lot of Will Ferrell's movies. Definitely Step Brothers, Talladega Nights.
And we always say as a Will Ferrell quote, like, "Hey, lady in the red hat," and everyone's like, "That's not like one of the quotes." I was like, you know that thing, that moment. So
Have you ever seen the thing when he's on Eastbound and Down, My Plums?
Yeah.
Oh my
Oh my
word,
God!
dude.
Like when I'm on the road and just movie bloopers make me laugh. I think more than any. Like I get a contact high and I start giggling. We didn't have any of that on this movie.
Not really, no.
but I am the least professional person when it comes to that because once I get going, it's hard to stop.
You'd listen to the IMAX film like rolling through the camera and you'd suppress your laughter. You're like, that film is so expensive.
I think I went up on one line in this movie. I think I went up on one line. I was like, I am never going to go up on a line. Like it's just the producer in me. Yeah, you hear that 2.5 minute, mag just ripping, and it sounds like a blender.
And the way they dialed in reloading the camera.
Well, Keith, those guys are amazing. Yeah.
Him and Emily, I remember being on a boat one day, and Chris was doing the clapperboard, and it was just us and him on the boat. Like he really gets stuck in, and I think at one point the camera.
Okay, I'm running into. I think I need to restart my computer at some point because I am noticing Lightroom is a bit laggy. Like even in this little thumbnail view, the navigator, it's not showing the same image. And there's a little bit of a delay sometimes when I'm doing things. So I'm just trying to think what programs I should probably turn off DaVinci then. Because I'm not doing the video edits right now. And then let me close Lightroom and restart it.
Jammed, and it was raining sideways, and the boat is tipping like this, and Keith and Emily, like, I thought to the untrained eye, like, oh, that's a bust. Like, the camera's broken, we're 2 miles off the coast, like, we're gonna have to go back to land.
Okay, that was cool. Get a little insight. I'm very excited for when that movie comes out. When does The Odyssey come out? The Odyssey release date. July 17. Oh, snap. A month away. Man, this is going to be such a crazy movie, I'm sure. I feel like the hype. I'm trying to think what movie comes close to the hype I think this one's getting right now. How long is the movie going to be? Don't know. All right, here we go. We were talking about Old Boy. So, when the director breaks all the rules of editing. Let's check this out.
Two minutes and 40 seconds. This is the end of one of the most legendary fight scenes in cinema. Here's the setup. It takes place in a narrow hallway where the protagonist Odesu faces off.
This is supposed to be like one of the most iconic fight scenes, or I know it's one of the most impactful for sure, because I know there's a lot of other movies that came out that point to this scene as what inspired them. And okay, what do I remember of this scene? I remember it was shot. It might have been one of those one-take shots. And it was all shot from this kind of side angle, like almost like a video game when you're playing one of those 2D side-scrolling games. That's all I remember. And it was just like, it felt like you have one boss battle after another as people keep charging at him. Anyways, that's all I remember.
Against 18 henchmen alone. 18 stuntmen, 3 months of rehearsal, 2 days of shooting, 1 man and his hammer. Oh, and this entire 2 minutes and 40 seconds.
One take?
It's all one take.
올드보이는
Ooh, I understand that.
뭐라지?
Not really. My Korean's shit.
잘했다. 여러 가지 의미가 있지만
Park Chan-wook is in my eyes one of the greatest directors not just in South Korea but in the world. Funnily enough, in 2003 when he began preparing the scene that became a massive phenomenon, he intended for it to be a traditional action sequence. As was his usual method, he meticulously
Again, this is why I'm jealous of people who can draw. We watched that video yesterday. It's like they make it, oh yeah, it's easy. You know what would be really good if you want to be a filmmaker? You gotta just storyboard. It's like, okay, I can't draw, man. If I could, I would love to do this in my free time. Just like sketch out a bunch of these like scenes of random things, but I can't do this shit. Come on. Saroni says L-O. L-O what?
storyboarded everything. His plan was to shoot master shots dividing the long choreography into 2 to 4 parts while capturing all the action, which then would be connected with dozens of close-ups to create a dynamic fight scene in the editing room. But on set, 2 things happened that perhaps changed the destiny of this film.
LOL at your Korean? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more truth to that than you would imagine. People do laugh at me when I speak in Korean, but my Korean is good enough to survive in Korea. My buddy's wedding was there years back now, and so I was like the designated Korean of the group. So I got us through taxis, public transportation, restaurants. I was the guy, which is kind of funny in hindsight, thinking of like it was my Korean that they relied on, but little did they know, I didn't know shit. But yeah, I know how to be like, hey, what is this thing on the menu? Can we order more of this, please? Where's the restroom? You know, stuff like that.
First, Chae Min-sik, the actor who played Odesu and one of South Korea's most famous actors alongside Song Kang-ho, became so exhausted during takes that he could barely stand. Second, Park realized that the scene didn't need close-ups or fragmented shots. It worked best as it was.
박정호 감독이 날 부르더라고요. 초선배, 완신왕카트로 가는 거 어때?
그렇게만 할 수 있으면요. 다른 디테일들은 하나도 안 쓸 거거든요.
아주 끝까지 그냥.
You know what? If I had to get into Hollywood, actually, this is actually not a bad idea. Because okay, let's say if I want to get into this kind of world, I want to be on these sets filming something. Instead of trying to put myself into this world by pitching myself as like, hey, I can do the camera operator for this or that, or I'll do what do they call it? The gaffer. I'll be the gaffer guy, or I don't know, the rack focus puller, whatever the terms are. I don't know shit. I will be like, hey, I will film the behind the scenes. Because that's like right up my alley, right? Because now you're not talking about you need proper lighting or you need to have this type of proper camera rig. It's just have a camera, freewheel, move your camera around. If this dude's talking, just point it at him. Probably no microphones besides your camera shotgun mic or something like that. I could do that. Sign me up. That's not actually a bad idea, right? I mean, I'm sure the competition is much higher, but just be like, hey, I'll shoot these behind the scenes that you can use in your little, director's cut, or even these types of movies. I filmed this. Frangie, how's it going? Frangie says, hi, friends, with the purple heart and everything. Thank you very much for saying that. How are you doing? My cats say hi, friend, back at you with their own hearts. Kimbap is over there sleeping away, and Nala is over here sleeping away. Let me disturb her real quick. Sometimes you just gotta bother them, remind them who's boss, you know. But yeah, how you doing? We're just chilling here. We're on. It's almost 10 p.m. my time over here, but trying to get through my Mongolia edits. I think actually I will be able to finish all of Mongolia today. I think. Actually, oh wait, maybe not. Oh man, I thought I had fewer photos to go through than I actually do. And while we're doing that, I'm just watching some YouTube videos here. So this is a little bit behind the scenes of this Korean movie called Old Boy, which is fantastic. So damn good. Very disturbing movie. And then, yeah, they're breaking down this one crazy fight scene that was a single take that they did. Frangie says kitties. Yes, absolutely. My kitties. Wait, how much did I disturb her? She's going to bite me. Watch. She's doing a little meow to say like, hey man, get off my back. Good girl, Nala. Thank you for not biting me. Okay, anyways. Let's get back into this.
Rather than shortening or segmenting the sequence to ease the workload of the actors, he decided to do the opposite and embrace its length, rawness, and exhausting energy.
오케이, 그렇게 합시다.
Okay.
죽었다 이제 난. 그런 생각은 들었죠. 그러니까 이 제정신이 아니었던 게야 내가.
Frangie says he's so sweet. Don't be mean. This one's the female. And she's such a diva, such a queen that, you know what? Look at her. Oh, she's purring right now. She is much more well-mannered than I make it out to be. Except for when I need to trim her nails or anything like that. Oh my God, she starts hissing. She'll start like, she starts yowling and everything, and she becomes the worst. Kimbap, meanwhile, he just hangs out. He doesn't care. So she is perfect. Yeah, she is. Little queen. Oops, sorry. She was yawning and she just... Good girl. Good girl. Yeah. 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 Okay. They are wonderful distractions for sure.
그리고 배우들 괴롭히는 재미로 감독을 한다고는 하지만 역시 뭐니 해도 그냥 배우가 아니고 스타들을 괴롭힐 때가 특히 재밌는 거니까 그런 재미는 만끽했다고 할 수 있죠.
After 2 days of shooting and 17 takes, they were done.
17 takes.
As Park himself admitted, there were no perfect takes. You can spot mistakes even in the final version, but that imperfection became part of his charm. His instincts proved correct. When Oldboy premiered at Cannes, the audience clapped after this scene, and at the end of the screening erupted into an extended round of applause. Although the film didn't win the Palme d'Or, it took home Korea's first grand jury prize, and part of the credit goes to one particularly vocal jury member. This filmmaker championed Oldboy, ensuring it got the recognition it deserved. That you remember, it was Quentin Tarantino.
Oh snap!
His endorsement not only highlighted the film at Cannes, but also secured its North American distribution, turning Oldboy into an international sensation and the cornerstone of the South Korean...
Yo, I like that thumbnail. Or not, what do you call it? The movie poster? Movie cover? What do you call like a movie thing? Oldboy movie cover? Oldboy movie poster? Maybe it's poster. That movie poster looks so awesome.
New wave. But what exactly makes this scene so special? Let's take a closer look. Beyond the technical mastery and physical demands of this fight, its true impact lies in how it fits into the larger narrative and themes of the film. To understand this, it's worth briefly looking at the events leading up to the hallway. After being kidnapped and imprisoned for 15 years without any explanation, Odesu is suddenly released and immediately starts looking for answers. Along the way he meets Mido, a young sushi chef who becomes his ally. After an investigation armed only with an ordinary hammer taken from the girl's cabinet, he uncovers the building where he was held captive. And that's where it all begins. In the same confined space he fought so desperately to escape, he returns driven by vengeance and the relentless will to survive. Isolated, alone, against all odds. You see, time and rhythm is sometimes the most important thing in a film. Obviously, time is a central theme in Oldboy. From teenage grudges to 15 years of imprisonment, time is everywhere. The ticking clocks, the flashbacks, the title, and the revenge plot itself. However, the true power of this scene and the film as a whole lies not in the symbolic use of time, but in Park Chan-wook's manipulation of filmic time. The way he controls rhythm and pacing to shape the emotional and narrative flow. Looking at the shot lengths in Oldboy, we can see the ebb and flow of Park Chan-wook's waltzing structure, a rhythm reflected in the film's music, camera movement, and overall style. These peaks and valleys influence the pacing in ways the audience might not consciously notice, but they play a key role in shaping the film's unique style and energy. The hallway fight hits so hard because until this point he got us used to his unique and erratic editing style. Take the first scene at the police station. Jump cuts propel us forward, heightening the humor and chaos. This dynamic approach carries through the film. In Odessu's first fight after being released, Park uses jump cuts again, but contrasts them with moments of stoic stillness and even slow motion, before ramping up and exploding into a flurry of action. Throughout the film, Park pushes and pulls, alternating between serene stillness and frantic pacing. The edit jumps through seconds, years, spaces. It ignores any rules and logic. Just like Odessu, it's free-flowing and untamed. And with these, time becomes Park Chan-wook's playground. A dance he leads with ease, teaching the audience to follow his steps without them even realizing. By the time the first act is over, we are moving in sync with his rhythm.
편집을 잘못했다고 나한테 뭐라고 하고 있는 건가요? 편집실에 와서 얘기를 하지 그랬어요?
So when we reach the hallway fight, a single unbroken...
Okay, I keep getting... I never know what to do with this type of a subject. When you've got... You got the person, the eagle, and the horse. And it's like, do I fit the entirety of them in a single shot and go like super portrait mode, very vertical? And there's nothing wrong with it, especially once we start playing with the background here. I think once we see a lot of texture, so it's not just like sky. It's like, wow, there's a big-ass mountain as as the backdrop. But then part of me really likes when I punch in. So if I am able to zoom in on this shot, if I crop it, then it's a bit more like each character here has character. Whereas once I zoom out, it's like they all shrink into a single subject. So that's my inner thought process right now. I don't have a solution yet. Because we could... I mean, this could end up being landscape mode. Because one thing I've been becoming more comfortable with is being comfortable with cropping your subjects, or like not having to have the entire subject in frame. So part of me is like, okay, how does that principle apply to a shot like this? Well, we'll find out. Let me just keep playing with it.
Take, it feels radical. The raw, unpolished texture of the scene is emotionally overwhelming. It's not heroic, it's brutal and exhausting. But here Odessu, a man who trained for revenge in isolation, transforms into something primal, driven by desperation and rage. Yet he remains human. The physical exhaustion, the hits he takes, the blood and sweat he's soaked in, it all makes him relatable. As Park said,
무의미한 싸움. 오대수의 그 처절한 노력과 투쟁이 다 무의미하다라는 가장 무가치한데 가장 힘겨운.
Even the hammer, an everyday object turned weapon, mirrors Odessu's transformation. Just as the hammer is crude but effective, so too is Odessu, flawed but unstoppable. The mistakes I mentioned earlier were partly fixed with CGI. In some frames where the hits didn't land, they extended the arms of the actors. And something that is hard to notice at first but difficult to unsee after we learn is the knife that is tracked onto his back via VFX. The sound design and the music adds a lot to the scene. It's also something most people don't notice, but when you mute it, or listen to another version, you realize how impactful it really is. And just as the longest take in the film ends, the time speeds up again, skipping to the ground floor, leaving out the action in the elevator.
Yo, Nick. Nick says, how are you? I'm doing very well, man. Good to hear from you. It's been a while, I think. Frenzy says, I've been playing with weird cropping too. I've seen so many really great images that are turned sideways. It's been really inspiring. Yeah, I wish I knew when is the most appropriate time to do that. But I might as well experiment, right? That's part of the fun of it, part of the joys. And I think I've done that a few times. So Frangie, since you're here, I can point to one photo that I did that on recently, which I think, I mean, I'm happy with the results from making this decision. Where are you? There it is. This photo. So, well, the original one of this guy was what? Yeah, it was like this big, you know, full screen. Here, let me just copy and paste that one. So this is the original photo. So I did shoot in portrait, but it was mainly just like, okay, I got a subject. This bird is looking straight at me. Thankfully, the eye is pretty focused, or it's pretty sharp. But then I didn't really know, like, how do I crop this to really give it a nice little oomph factor, you know? And then ultimately, I just kind of stumbled upon, like, okay, let me just crop and do like a half face. Because I've been seeing a little bit of this more and more, even with wildlife on my recent trip to Tanzania, where, and I told this to some of the guides that I was training, but you can sometimes get these really cool perspectives with like elephants, where the problem is the elephant is so large, right? So it's hard to usually, it's depending on what you're shooting with, it's hard to fit the entire elephant in frame. So then what I was trying to give as advice was sometimes, especially if you're stuck with a certain lens, if you have no ability to zoom out, zoom in, you have a forced perspective, try shooting portrait, but then also try just focusing on like one part of the elephant's body or whatever, the subject's body. It could be the trunk, it could be the ears, or it could be half the face. And yeah, anyways, so then here I just kind of stumbled upon this. It wasn't intentional. It was just as I was playing with the crop tool. But it turned out quite nice because I don't know, because the other option here was like, okay, half the face is in shadow. So part of me wanted to have the entire face of the eagle in frame. That way I can show like the difference in terms of lights and shadows, right? Like, oh, look at that. You got half a dark face, half bright face. Whereas in a crop shot like this, you have no idea that half the face was shrouded. So you do lose a little bit of the impact of like a storytelling mode. But for this also allowed the eye to be, you know, much more impactful, more in your face. So yeah, anyway, so that was one example. Let's see, was there another example we can point to? I guess this one was kind of same thing. This one was more, I just wanted to do a close-up of the textures on the feather because I was shooting with like a 85 1.2 lens. So I did have a lot of room for doing some craziness. This one I think I punched, oh no, I just did the shadows a bit more. Yeah, this one, I might come back to it as well, but this was just like a close-up of the guy who I was staying with. He had like, I realized after the fact that he had like really cool eyes. Like he had a lot of texture around the pupil that when it caught the light here, I wanted to accentuate it. So this one I just did a super close-up. And then I don't know what I'll do yet with this one. And then, yeah, some of the ones that we ended up editing, I did try to do super wide angle stuff. Frangie says, incredible, such a fab decision. Thank you very much. It was a decent decision. I won't go as far as to say fab, but it was okay. Nick says, I've been meaning to ask you, when you are on a hike somewhere to take photos, do you use a clip to secure your camera to your backpack, or do you just hold it? I have what is called the cotton carrier. I have a cotton carrier vest. Hold on one second. I can show you on my Instagram. I showed it on stream before, but I ended up using it for all my jungle treks for the chimpanzees and the gorillas recently. So I do have some recent examples that I can point to. Give me a second. Let me bring this over. Okay, so if you see here, all right, let's speed through this. So this is from my recent trip to Uganda last month, a month and a half ago. I had 2 trips to Uganda for some film projects. And then I think I have it here somewhere. Yeah, here.
It's so ridiculous.
So you can see I was wearing this vest, this camouflage vest. So I can strap a camera to the chest and then 1 camera to the side. And then I had like not a GoPro, I had like 3 action cameras also attached. So then I had an Action 6 attached to the shoulder strap. You can see that big camera, I was carrying a 400, but it works on the chest part of the harness.
As if you're going for a combat. I'm thinking of like, let's take my leg.
Yeah, so anyways, oh yeah, and you can see here, I guess, in action. So this became really useful because it's so easy. There's like a nice system where you can just hook your camera onto the harness and then it slides into place so it doesn't fall out. So then I can go for a hike, then quickly switch over, shoot with it, put it back, keep hiking. Okay, anyways, hope that was helpful. What's happening, Obi-Wan? He looks like Gandalf. Oh, this guy? Is he like the Asian Gandalf? Oh, maybe because I can see what you're saying. He just needs a big beard, a bushy beard. Frenchie says, love it. I feel like you can even crop tighter in the feathers. Feathers. Back on the original one you're talking about, yeah? And let me see if I can find another. That's an incredible crop as well. What's going on, Obi-Wan? And Nick says, that's nice, thanks. Yeah, happy to share. Yeah, I probably could actually crop a bit more, to be fair. But part of the reason I decided to leave it as is was partially just because of, I literally just, as I was dragging the tool around, I just landed on this quite nicely. I was like, you know what? Let's just keep it. Yeah. Well, there's some other examples, I think. Yeah, this one I kept it in a little bit more diagonal mode. Let's see. Landscapes are really tough for me. It's been a while since I focused on it. So these ones I'm keeping super wide. Yeah, these ones I think I cropped in a lot too. I think this might have been originally, oh, not this one then. Oh, these ones. Yeah, same issue here. I did mention I was probably gonna go back and edit these again a bit more once I figure out, do I prefer just kind of cropping in? Because he's got such a stoic expression on his face. I wish the eagle's face was also visible. It would have been nice if they were all looking in the same direction. But this could work for like a landscape as well. And then, yeah, some of these I had no choice but to crop because I didn't capture it all. This one I went with a super wide angle. So you can see here the original shot was much, much more expansive. So I kind of trimmed the fat, if you will. And I went super wide angle on this one so that basically the eagle takes up most of the frame and you can still make out the silhouette of the horse behind. What kind of story does it tell? I don't know. But it feels a bit more intriguing, I guess, just to have this like, you know, mysterious subject in the background. Then we have some close-ups of the eagle. Here I did punch in a bit more. So choosing to just accept the fact that you're not gonna have the full frame of the eagle. And then this ended up being one of my favorite to crop in terms of like storytelling wise, of just having the Lone Ranger kind of a story crossing an old bridge. Yeah, so I've been playing with a lot more of these kind of super wide angle. So you know what? And this might be something I'll do more often and might even start encouraging. is doing, yeah, like instead of sticking to like a 3x2 or a 16:9, why not go like super wide angle? Like, you know, especially now that I've been practicing more filmmaking stuff, videography, cinematography, where, you know, you talk about those anamorphic shots or those super like 2.39:1 ratio with the letterboxing that you see in films, right? Or in theaters. So it's like, okay, we already know this wide angle kind of style. It works well for people visually, right? Hollywood uses it, you know, there's a reason for it. So it's like, okay, well, why not apply that same thing to photography? Like, why do we have to feel like we have to stick to a 16:9? Like, the 16:9 looks great. It fills up the entire monitor for me. And so that's all obviously fantastic. So you can feel very immersed into the scene. But then what about this? Like, what's so wrong with adding those letterbox to the top and the bottom? What's so wrong with kind of, you know, widening out your shot? So this is actually something I'll probably do more and more of. I think one of the reasons people haven't done that, like, I'm kind of generalizing, it probably has something to do with like Instagram, right? Like when it comes to what platform do you as a, let's say, amateur or professional photographer, where do you share your photos back in the day-ish, back in the modern day? And it would be like, oh, I got to post it to Instagram. Okay, well then what's the right aspect ratio? It's like, oh shoot, usually it's like a little bit more portrait style, like a 4:5 or something. So then you run into those issues of like, I need to crop not for what's most visually impactful, but what's most socially impactful, like what will spread in the algorithms. So I think there's nothing wrong with that because it does make you, it forces you to adapt and try new things and all that. So what's so wrong with learning 4:5 aspect ratio and like trying to fit that framing into your shots? But I think we've become a little bit overly reliant or dependent on that framing. So yeah, and then it's like same thing. Why does 16:9? Like, why does it have to be 16:9? It's like, well, your frame, your photo frame that you put on the wall doesn't have to be 16:9. It just happens to be 16:9 because if you want a full screen on your computer monitors, that's probably the best aspect ratio. So yeah, my point is, I guess it's like, why not continue challenging yourself in terms of what the right composition is, what the right croppings are. So now I've become super comfortable with these like kind of super pano style shots. So even on this Mongolia edits, you'll see a lot more of those throughout. And I might start just applying that like almost as the default mode. That could be fun if I just take an entire trip and instead of doing a 16:9 or 3:2, if I do actually just force myself to do everything in like that more wider cropping. Let's see if I have another example. Yeah, something like this. But this one also, it was like, obviously I need to fit the landscape in. So another example. Oh yeah, I guess I did it today on this shot here. Another thing I'm doing more often is adding a bit of grainy texture to the shot. So as opposed to always going with like a super clean, high res, you know, glass-like shot where everything's nice and smooth and sharp, I'm now trying different styles more often, including, can I just add that grainy texture onto some of my photos. So yeah, I guess giving a little bit more like a vintage style. But yeah, so these two, for instance, you can see here, the grain is quite apparent in this close-up. But, oh yeah, this was an example that I did some cropping as well, right? So if you look at the original shot compared to what I ended up cropping here, this way I wanted to just focus on the eye. So the eye was like, decently sharp, not like the sharpest, but there is a bit of a catch light on the eye, right on the rim of it, so it feels more sharp than it probably was, but it draws your eye to the eye, so that's great. So I don't need the full horse. Even cropped in, you have an obvious idea that this is a close-up of a horse. And then what's the intrigue is that in the shadows, in the background, we get this like murky silhouette, which is the eagle, but you know, it's not the most obvious, but you can see there's some interesting silhouette, you know, in the empty space, in the negative space. So then it kind of gives a little bit of like a duality, or like there's two characters in the shot. that was kind of the thought process behind this one. I kind of like it, but yeah. And then we got some of those shots. I think we're almost there. Here, let me just remove that. Okay, so we're caught up now. So anyways, that's my little thought. That was my spiel. Hopefully it's inspiring in some way, or hopefully it just gives you a different perspective. I might even do that on this shot. Why not? Yeah, same thing. I'll do a little letterboxing on this one. And in case you're interested, I don't remember why these ratios are saved in my customs, but the two that I was using the most recently is 2.4 by 1 and 1.91 by 1, as well as 16 by 5. So those three have been the ones I've been kind of jumping back and forth when I need to do like these wider croppings. So there you go. Thanks for the questions, guys. I do like explaining these things. It's fun.
While to this day, dozens of films, TV shows, and even video games pay homage to this scene, like the church scene in Kingsman, Netflix's Daredevil, or Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, what makes Oldboy truly unique is the context around it. The genius of the unbroken take here isn't just in the physicality of the fight, but in how Park Chan-wook uses the rhythm and pacing of the entire film. The lack of cuts isn't just a stylistic choice, it reflects the exhaustion and desperation of the protagonist and ties into the larger themes of the movie. Where similar scenes in other films may imitate the visual style and are great in their own rights, it's Oldboy's careful use of montage and editing that makes this moment resonate in a way others simply can't replicate. In 2003, Oldboy didn't just break ground with its iconic fight scene, it was a film defined by its gritty, bleach bypass aesthetic, unforgettable set designs, and a controversial story with one of cinema's most shocking twists. It marked the turning point for South Korean cinema. At that time, the global film landscape was changing, and directors like Park Chan-wook were at the forefront of a new wave. His success at Cannes gave him the confidence to keep pushing the boundaries of his vision, and more importantly, it opened the door for other filmmakers to take their place on the international stage. Without him, Bong Joon-ho, Kim Ji-woon, and others, the South Korean cinematic renaissance of the last 2 decades might never have happened. Oldboy's legacy wasn't just in its technical feats, but in how it embodied bold, instinctive decisions. Much like Odesu grabbing the hammer from Middle's cabinet, a spur-of-the-moment choice that changes everything, Park Chan-wook's decision to leave the fight scene as a single uncut moment defined not only the scene, but the film itself. A simple hallway, a hammer, and a daring filmmaker. Oldboy didn't just tell a story of love and vengeance, it redefined what cinema and revenge thrillers could be.
사랑해요.
Fantastic movie. Very disturbing, very twisted, but epic movie. Thank you. Just one more thing. Whoops. Let's subscribe.
I just didn't think.
Making of Reservoir Dogs. All right, it's our boy Colo Kino. Hells yeah. All right. Reservoir Dogs. It's been a while since I've seen this movie. But I think one of the things that I took away the most from this movie is the power of dialogue. And it definitely, in my mind, I think it helped solidify to me the genius of Quentin Tarantino. Whether, I'm assuming it's him that predominantly puts the script together, but the ability to make a scene so mesmerizing and gripping without anything besides just two people talking is like, so that's such a skill. It's easy to make something look, it's kind of like how I think of when if I post a really cool video, well, hopefully you guys like it, but if I'm posting something where I shot something at 120 frames per second, I slow it down. Slow motion is like such a crutch, which I unashamedly use all the time. I'll openly admit to it. You shoot something in slow motion, it just makes it look so epic. You don't have to really do anything else besides slow it down and then just post it, and it could look really cool. So when you got action, when you got nice sets, when you got nice lighting, when you got nice whatever, okay, easy enough to hide any imperfections. But when you're having just two people in a diner or two people in a car or in a whatever warehouse, and there's nothing else going on, and they're just talking for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but it's you know, I think that's Tarantino's one of his like biggest strengths for sure. And I think Reservoir Dogs does that a lot. It's like, how much action is in the movie? I don't even think there was much. It was just the illusion of action.
I was ever going to be able to deal my way in. No one's going to say, you know, we're going to take a chance on you, kid. I just never thought that would ever happen. And so out of frustration, I wrote Reservoir Dogs.
About that time, Q befriended Scott Spiegel, co-author of the movie Evil Dead 2. They met totally randomly when they struck up a conversation in line at a movie theater. Spiegel was impressed by Quentin's erudition and invited him to party at his house. When Scott heard the name Tarantino, he remembered another person with that same last name, whose script True Romance he had recently read. When Quentin told him it was his work, Spiegel was amazed and promised him that no matter what, he would help him make a movie. The next day, he convinced Lawrence Bender, the producer of his latest film, to work with Tarantino. That meeting became a turning point for both their careers. Tarantino worked with Lawrence as a producer for the next 19 years.
There's another asshole, my producer, right next to him, man.
Bender immediately advised Quentin to focus on making Reservoir Dogs.
I mean, I was going to shoot Reservoir Dogs for $30,000, 16mm black and white. That's why it all takes place in one room.
But Bender asked Quentin for 1 year to seek financing worthy of a professional movie.
I begged him to let me raise more money, and he refused.
And then finally, after like a long time of negotiating, he goes, "That's it. Give me 2 months with it."
In the end, their contract was written down on a bar napkin and stated that Quentin give Bender 2 months to look for money. But within the week, events began to unfold with incredible speed.
My producer, his acting teacher's wife is an actress who knows Harvey in the actor's studio. Lawrence got the script to his acting teacher. His acting teacher read it and liked it and gave it to his wife. His wife read it and liked it. She put it in Harvey's hands at the actor's studio. 3 days later, Harvey calls me on the phone and says, "Hi, this is Quentin Tarantino. I'm Harvey Keitel. And I want you to know I think the script is magnificent. It's absolutely magnificent. I would very like to be a part of it. I really would. I'd like to even help produce it if I possibly could,
I'm glad they specified which Harvey. And what a good voice actor Quentin Tarantino is. Not really.
And it was like, what? Harvey Keitel? Jesus Louise.
With Keitel, Reservoir Dogs underwent a Cinderella transformation. After a month of talks, the budget of the picture went from Quentin's saved $30,000 to $1.5 million from the company Live Entertainment.
Looks nice.
Throughout his career, Harvey Keitel tried to trust amateur directors. He did so with Martin Scorsese first in Mean Streets and later in Taxi Driver, 2 films which paved the way for a new wave of American cinema. Both are favorites of Tarantino, by the way. But then his career took a dive, beginning with Francis Ford Coppola, who personally threw him out of Apocalypse Now and replaced him with Martin Sheen. And the main fiasco was his part in Saturn III, where he got completely dubbed over.
Yes, you have a great body. May I use it?
Things started to get better just before he agreed to do Reservoir Dogs, thanks to his roles in The Last Temptation of Christ and Thelma and Louise. In short, the decision to act for Tarantino was returning to his roots, working with young directors, and a big risk for a career that had just started to level out.
Is that supposed to be funny?
Of course, his name helped the movie. As soon as the rumor that Keitel was going to be in Reservoir Dogs was confirmed, other stars began to consider the project themselves. That's why in the early stages, Christopher Walken expressed his interest, though later he changed his mind. Whereas Chris Penn,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't
Steve
remember.
Buscemi, and Tim Roth happily joined the project. Also, Samuel L. Jackson auditioned for the role of Holdaway, but Tarantino chose Randy Brooks over him.
This better not be some kind of Freddie joke, man.
That's the story of how an unknown writer with no directing experience got a star-studded cast and $1.5 million. Quentin needed to get some experience before he started shooting. So in June of 1991, he went to the Sundance Festival, which provided dozens of master classes, combining amateur cinematographers with stars of the industry. That's where Quentin and Steve Buscemi filmed a few practice scenes for Reservoir Dogs.
I mean, for all I know is you're the rat. For all I know, you're the rat. Yeah, all right, now you're using your fucking head. For all we know, he's the rat.
Well, he ain't the rat because he took a bullet for me.
Okay, where did he say he went to do the... Was that the Con Festival?
Some kind of Freddie joke, man.
That's the story of how... An unknown writer with no directing experience got a star-studded cast and $1.5 million. Quentin needed to get some experience before he started shooting. So in June of 1991, he went to the Sundance Festival, which provided dozens of master classes, combining amateur cinematographers with stars of the industry. That's where Quentin and Steve Buscemi filmed a few practice scenes for Reservoir Dogs.
I mean, for all I know is you're the rat. For all I know, you're the rat. Yeah, all right, now you're using your fucking head. Before we know, he's the rat.
Well, he ain't the rat because he took a bullet for me. A rat wouldn't do that.
Hey, look, asshole, man, I'm right, okay? Somebody's a fucking rat.
They showed them to more experienced colleagues who considered Tarantino's style, for lack of a better word, childish. Static shots, the camera lying on the floor, and the lack of varied perspectives caused them to laugh with contempt. The only person who was inspired by the work and gave a lot of helpful advice was Terry Gilliam.
Was shooting a scene that is in the film, and it was just too many shots, every angle possible for this scene. And I said, you don't need all that. Come on, Quentin, you can do that in one shot. And I said, what you really need is to get a lot of really good people around you who know what they're doing and listen to them, but make them listen to you as well.
As a result, Tarantino thanked him by including Gilliam's name in the credits of the film.
Huh.
The film was shot in the poor suburbs of Los Angeles, but the heart of all the action became a real abandoned funeral home. Hardly anyone notices, but in this scene, for example, Michael Madsen is sitting on a hearse, surrounded by coffins, and the conversation between Harvey Keitel and Steve Buscemi happens in an embalming room.
Oh.
When all the locations had been found, there was little left to do. After a week of rehearsals on the 29th of July, 1991, they began filming Reservoir Dogs. The greatest challenge during the 5-week shooting process was reserved for Tim Roth. He had to lie in a puddle of fake blood for up to 10 hours a day. By the evening, the syrup and dye concoction thickened, and he had to literally be scraped off the floor. At one point, Quentin considered replacing Tim with a doll, but the actor insisted that he would lie there as long as necessary.
I was panicking for a minute back there, but I got my senses back now.
I used to have to hose you down because you're laying on the floor and then it starts to set. So they have to scoop me off the floor and then take me outside and hose me down so I get my costume on and stuff.
This iconic torture scene was created thanks to Robert Kurtzman, who hadn't forgotten about his promise to help with special effects in exchange for the script From Dusk Till Dawn. While shooting, Quentin realized that he hadn't given Mr. Blue a single line. So he rewrote the opening scene in a diner between takes. As for the discussion, when Quentin's character explains the hidden meaning of Madonna's Like a Virgin, he seriously thought that he had guessed her subliminal message.
You see, the pain is reminding the fuck machine what it was once like to be a virgin. Hence, like a virgin. Did Madonna see the movie? No, she hasn't. She said that she'll go and she'll tell me if that's the truth or not. I'm positive it's the case. I have no doubt in my mind she's going to come up to me. She's going to, Quentin, you're 100% right. That's exactly what the song's about.
After the film came out, he met with Madonna and asked her if he had guessed correctly. She answered no, but that she really liked his interpretation.
I got Madonna's big dick coming out of my left ear and Toby the Jet, I don't know what, coming out of my right.
During editing, Quentin met Harvey Weinstein for the first time. Their partnership, which was more like a bickering couple, would continue for another 27 years. Back then, Harvey insisted that they cut the torture scene from the film. This argument continued for a while, but the director remained unmoved and continued to demonstrate that no one was going to tell him how to make a movie.
Violence in movies doesn't bother me at all. To me, saying you don't like violence in movies is like saying you don't like tap dancing sequences in movies. It's one of the many things you can do in movies, and it's a very cinematic thing, and you might not like it might not be your cup of tea, but the fact that you should or should not do it is not up for question.
As for the scene, he slightly regretted leaving it in, because many would describe the film by saying, you know, that movie where the cop gets his ear cut off. The scene sparked much discussion, and was the reason that it wasn't released on cassette in Great Britain. and was viciously attacked by several publications. The newspaper today stated that the scene should have been cut out, along with every other scene, maintaining that the work was nothing more than violence propaganda.
Kids shouldn't play so rough. Somebody's gonna start crying.
Quentin accepted these attacks with a smile, like Michael Madsen, who used to say that Mr. Blonde was the most positive persona in the movie.
I mean, I didn't find Mr. Blonde that bad a guy. I couldn't understand why people cheered when he was shot. I would have thought they'd be sorry to see him go, especially since he got shot by a rat. He didn't bullshit anybody. He just wanted to tell the truth.
But Madsen wasn't the only one affected by comments about his role. Steve Buscemi said that after the monologue about tips, he had to tip generously for life.
Recently, I forgot to tip a cab driver, and I thought, oh my God, if he sees the movie, he's gonna say that's the guy.
I mean, that's actually Quentin's real philosophy.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, is it? He doesn't leave, but
that's how he really feels about tipping. And I've been out with him, and it's been a problem, you know.
You know what this is? It's the world's smallest violin playing just for the waitresses.
Reservoir Dogs premiered at the Sundance Festival. It received so many glowing reviews there that a month later at Cannes, the film was pegged to be a revelation. Later at the film festival in Toronto, Reservoir Dogs received the prize for Best Film. And
Nick says, I'm going to sleep. Have a great night, everyone. Yes, have a great night. Thanks for hopping in here. Good to see you, my friend. I'm going to keep editing. Let's see, it's about 10:30 p.m. right now. I'm wondering if I should also consider... let's just keep on. Let's go till the end of this movie at least, or this YouTube video.
Quentin met Robert Rodriguez, who had brought his El Mariachi, which had been filmed for only $7,000. The directors quickly found common ground and became best friends, but more on that later. Meanwhile, Reservoir Dogs was released and made $3 million in the USA. This may seem unimpressive at first, but if you consider that the film was only shown in 26 theaters the first week, this number is more than adequate. In Great Britain, it was shown at 10 theaters and made £100,000 on opening weekend.
Now, the things you gotta remember are the details. It's the details that sell your story.
The picture smoothly gained momentum, and by the beginning of 1993, it was on everybody's lips. Reservoir Dogs was considered to be the best directing debut since the times of Citizen Kane.
So, as far as I'm concerned, the movie's a smash, because the people who took the chance on me have been paid back in spades.
But there was a downside to all this attention. Quentin was accused multiple times of plagiarism, and while the influence of French New Wave cinema could be read between the lines, the number of similarities with the Hong Kong action movie City on Fire was truly suspicious. Here's what happens in one of the scenes of the film. A gang of robbers with the code names Brother Joe, Brother Chu, Brother Fu, and Brother Nam run after they fail to steal a diamond. The job was ruined because one of the robbers, a psychopath, started shooting. The police were lying in wait, tipped off by Brother Chu, who was undercover for the cops. During the escape, Brother Chu is saved by the more seasoned Brother Fu, who in turn provokes Brother Chu when he unloads 2 cartridges of bullets onto the cop's windshield. Brother Chu kills an innocent witness and is wounded in the stomach. Fu takes him to the meeting point at an abandoned warehouse. Fearing that they were betrayed, he calls in the big boss. The boss declares that Chu is a cop and turns the barrel of his gun on him. Fu reacts because
Wait
he
a
thinks
second.
Chu
Holy
is
crap.
innocent.
Okay. Wait, was this all plagiarized? What the heck?
And he gets out his gun too. The next scene finds them in a belligerent standoff. Look familiar?
That's your proof? You don't need proof when you have instinct.
Of course. It's worth mentioning that this is only a 20-minute segment of City on Fire. Although the connection can't be ignored, the style, dialogue, and plot structure of the films are completely different. But of course, this topic was too good for journalists to pass up at press conferences. At the Cannes Film Festival, Tarantino gave the press a clear answer.
I love City on Fire, and I have the poster for it framed in my house. It's a great movie. I steal from every movie. I steal from every single movie ever made. I love it. If my work has anything, it's that I'm taking this from this and that from that and mixing them together. And if people don't like them, then tough titty. Don't go and see it, alright? I steal from everything. Great artists steal. They don't do homages.
Many were not satisfied by this
I mean, how do I feel about that? I mean, I mean, there's a lot of truth to that, right? Like, you know, even it's hard to be original. And then everything I'm learning, everything I learn about filmmaking and stuff, it's like I'm taking notes from other people's works that I'm like, oh, I really like how they did this. Let me try to do that in my whatever I make. But when it comes to like, so like there's no controversy there to say like, oh yeah, you copy from the best to make your own work. But then when it comes to a story, similar to, I guess, like comedians, how they feel about if someone steals a comedian's like jokes, right? That's like a whole story premise. You know, there's a punchline. There's everything. It's like your own universe through a joke, or in this case, like a whole movie has a storyline to it. And if that whole storyline, regardless of if it comes from a 20-minute segment, if it is like scene by scene, following the exact same concept or the same thing, like robbers, not trust, you know, one shot in the stomach, going to, I don't know, that it does kind of, it feels a little suspicious, man. I don't know how I feel about that.
explanation. But Quentin completely unarmed the critics with his candor, which only added to his popularity.
Yeah, but then, yeah, okay. I don't know if I like that style, where it's like, if you make a mistake, if you did something wrong and your response is, yeah, I did it, so what? What are you going to do? It shouldn't automatically be like, oh, well, I like that he was so honest about that. And then you just kind of walk away from it unscathed. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. It's not, I mean, obviously, it's not to knock on Tarantino's genius. And, like, clearly he made it his own style. But that story, that plot line, those scenes are, like, literally, when you see it all played out like that. Hold on. I want to see that again. That's like the whole movie.
Could be read between the lines. The number of similarities with the Hong Kong action movie City on Fire was truly suspicious. Here's what happens in one of the scenes of the film. A gang of robbers with the code names Brother Joe, Brother Chu, Brother Fu, and Brother Nam run
Okay, so you got 4 characters.
after they fail to steal a diamond. The job
After a
was
failed
ruined
robbery.
because one of the robbers, a psychopath, started shooting. The police were
I think
lying
that happened in Reservoir Dogs as
in
well.
wait, tipped off by Brother Chu, who was undercover for the cops. During the escape,
Undercover cop.
Brother Chu is saved by the more seasoned Brother Fu, who in turn provokes Brother Chu when he unloads 2 cartridges of
Yep.
bullets onto the cop's windshield. Brother Chu kills an innocent witness and is wounded in the stomach. Fu takes him to the meeting point at an abandoned warehouse.
Jesus.
Fearing that they were betrayed, he calls in the big boss. The boss declares that Chu is a cop and turns the barrel of his gun on him. Fu reacts because he thinks Chu is innocent, and he gets out
Yo, that's literally, come on. That's
his gun too. The next scene finds them in a belligerent standoff. Look familiar?
That's your proof? You don't need proof when you have instinct.
Of course. It's worth mentioning that this is only a 20-minute segment of City on Fire. Although the connection can't be ignored, the style, dialogue, and plot structure of the films are completely different. But of course, this topic was too good for journalists to pass up at press conferences. At the Cannes Film Festival, Tarantino gave the press a clear answer.
I love City on Fire, and I have the poster for it framed in my house. It's a great movie. I steal from every movie. I steal from every single movie ever made. I love it. If my work has anything, it's that I'm taking this from this and that from that and mixing them together. And if people don't like them, then tough titty. Don't go and see it, all right? I steal from everything. Great artists steal. They don't do homages.
Many were not satisfied by this explanation, but Quentin completely unarmed the critics with his candor, which only added to his popularity.
And so that's actually what the story's about in a nutshell.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that, but good stuff. Tough titties, as he says. All right, I think this is a good one to end on. I'm not sure where I go with this photo. I'm leaning into a little bit darker, desaturated look, but it's not bad at all. Cool. All right, well, thank you guys. How are my cats doing? Sleeping away and sleeping away. Good girl. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, good girl. All right, guys. Well, thank you for another fun day of streaming. I hope, hopefully it was entertaining for you guys as well. Tomorrow I will be back. I should be back tomorrow. I have a few meetings, I think, in the daytime. So it just depends how long those go and then how exhausted it makes me or how behind I get. But yeah, usual stuff. Oh yeah, and like I said, check out my latest video on YouTube. I just released it today. It's another Behind the Lens episode. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's 7 minutes of me just breaking down how I've been dealing with picking up hobbies and then, you know, chucking those hobbies aside, right? How we end up quitting on our hobbies. So I made a video just kind of breaking down the framework on how I have learned to reset my mind frame around it, to or my mindset, so that I don't give up on my hobbies, or I try to avoid the ones that will fail inevitably. And I use photography as my key example for sure. But yeah, so check it out on my YouTube channel. It should be pinned on all the chats, YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. So that is one way you can also support my channel, is by watching more of my videos. Hells yeah. Leave a like, comment, you know, the usual drill for YouTube videos. Otherwise, nothing happens, but yeah. All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it. I will